because I do that to a lot of people. You just realize that.
Yes, exactly. I'm a citizen. I'm not calling
Exactly.
as.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Yep. So I was going to have a suggestion that, because I saw in the newsletter for the utility bill that came out today, it gave the day, what day to put out your trash. So I was going to recommend putting on there, have out by X time.
Yeah. I mean, well, I leave my house early, but I always thought as long as I got it out by 7, I'm fine.
Yeah. No.
I didn't know I needed to put it out at dark 30.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that.
And I normally don't put it out the night before because of animals.
Absolutely. I've watched too many of them knock them over.
Exactly, and have a mess to clean up.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so I have that recommendation. Well, like I said, the information we got doesn't have a time; it just has the day.
Right.
And yeah, because I even saw in the newsletter with today's utility bill, it has the day. And I know I'm not the only one that has called in saying, "Hey." Ay. Well, my son found out where he's being stationed in May. He's going down to the southern tip of Japan now, to Sasebo.
Woohoo!
Yes. He wanted to stay in Japan. And everything. I said, well, that just means another reason you have to fly me out there to visit you.
That's exactly right. You enjoyed the last time, so I'm just waiting to see another solution.
Well, it'll just work out right because he reports in May, and the following April he'll promote to lieutenant. So it's like, yeah, fly mom out there and I stab you again.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, yay. How are you?
Huh?
I like that shirt.
Yeah, I saw a guy had one on. Hey, Deborah.
I was going to say, I said, you'll have a keep in such a last meeting.
Oh, we will.
So he came right quick and I said, we have salad, we have green salad, we have pizza, we have spaghetti salad, we have one.
We will stop. Yeah. I have just for y'all purposes.
Can't be talking business. Everything's fine. I just got to take the call. Okay. Okay. If he does call it, I just got to take it. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor.
Still need one more, are you?
Yes, sir. Waiting for Mr. King. Because this one won't be here. That's why I moved his chair out. Give him more room if you want. It won't be here.
Where? Oh, cool. He's staying still.
But he's going on to a 200 feet shorter.
Yeah.
Wooden hall and fiberglass.
So the process.
Yeah, that way anything from behind will not attract.
Are you guys ready for a council meeting?
Oh, yes.
I am too.
Yes.
How do you raise this chair up? Yeah, it's not the what? Wrong side. It must be.
That was close. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I almost. He does that every time. Somebody switches. Hey. Let me see.
And I'm Grand. How are you?
Good. So,
Yes.
just.
Yes.
In that presentation.
Not to me, no. Not when they did the individual. Yeah, 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 yeah. Correct. Yes. Hi, sir.
Dennis, how are you doing?
I'm great. Good. Chris found out where he's going to next. He's going to Sasebo, the southern tip of Japan. Going on, and he'll be on a minesweeper.
Wow, they're transferring ships.
Well, he's excited. I mean, he wanted to stay in Japan for a bit. Well, this ship he's going to be transferring to is scheduled to be decommissioned in 2027. So,
Don't we get a clock
oh yeah. Well, and the minesweepers have a wooden hull with a fiberglass body. So he's excited.
This is the main idea of the sheet. They don't look the same, do they?
on wood BT boats.
Yep, pretty much.
No, one
They're
looks
200
brush.
feet shorter than
No,
a
it could be
destroyer.
it could be so modern,
No, they don't fit in. I mean, it's the same.
Moving over here, I can't see the middle of the hole.
but
They sent me
But it's not.
the cog is a lot finer. And this, the finer one, if you look at it, you can see where it's worn down, but I thought I'd show that. Just show you that. It's sitting on my shelf.
You need to go back to your truck for something?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay, yes, sir. We'll wait for you. Yes, sir. I'm waiting for you.
Yep,
I know. Yes, ma'am.
I'll take my time.
Well, I was in the kitchen doing something. I was in his room. Next thing we did, he had been to an electric.
He won't do it again.
No, he won't. Oh my God. He likes to snuggle with me. He'll put his head on the pillow.
Yeah.
And put his nose.
Maybe so. I'll ask him to see if it
And this
wants to tweak it, if we need to
Here.
figure it out.
It's like, oh my God. So Joe saw
TikTok.
it last night. He goes, do you know what he's doing? Yes, I told you what he's doing. That's too funny. Won't go anywhere near Joe on the bed.
Special call meeting today, 2:30.
Be silent.
You here?
Thing.
All right. Oh, well, I was on time.
It's okay.
Okay, 2:30. I'm going to call this special meeting, city council meeting to order and do a roll call real quick. Sheena? Yes.
Shana Martinez, District 1.
Houston Marchman, District 2.
Bill King, District 3.
Bob Lee, District 5, that's who you work on.
Okay. And
Yeah, I'm still Bob Lee, District 5.
I'm Bruce Alexander, Mayor, and Councilman for District 4, David Mers, is absent. All right. Like we do on every meeting, we're just going to open it up for anybody to make citizens' comments. Is anyone here who would like to make citizens' comments? I can read this if I need to. The city council will hear comments from any citizen or visitor. Speakers have 3 minutes. Is there anyone like to make any? Hearing none, we'll close that. Okay. We're going to move on to item 4, which is discussion and action items. This is considered to take appropriate action on current project reports provided by engineering firms listed below. And we have an order listed there. I'm going to turn this over to Scott in a second, but I just wanted to tell y'all real quick for the record, and I think I told y'all beforehand, this is an opportunity. I wanted to have this an opportunity for the various engineers that work for the city on various projects to come in. And number one is it's a meet and greet with the council. Number two is talk about the projects you're working on, get a status update, and kind of an interactive thing where council can hopefully have a better understanding and maybe ask questions on where we're at. I'm really not interested in your fee schedules. Those are already things already set up. It wasn't my intent for y'all to do that, but they were, and we move on. This is not an interview process. This is just an opportunity for us to share information about what the various projects are. That was my goal in doing this. Okay. And Scott, did you have anything to add to that?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on with KSA. Now, I understand KSA does did the master planning of the airport. Okay, if you'd like to come up, kind of introduce yourself and kind of just give us the overview, because I think there might be some questions about the airport that maybe you guys can point to, or I don't know if you're still employed with the city, but I just thought I'd ask.
So Mayor, just a couple of questions.
Yes,
Sorry, I do have a question for you.
yes,
Most of the firms provided a presentation.
and that's fine. We can do that.
Do you want me to bring those up?
We can do the presentations for y'all, so you can give that. What I'm trying to get at is, I don't want to spend all the time doing that. I want to give you guys ample time for a lot of questions and answering, because I think we have 5 of y'all, and we have 3 hours set up for this and other things on the agenda. I hope I don't have to keep you very long from that. So yes, sir, if you would, please.
Yeah, I am working on pulling these up, right?
Okay. If you want to wait for your presentation, that's fine.
No, I think we can go ahead and get started. And so I'll introduce myself. I'm Craig Phipps. I'm with KSA, a Tate Dawson company.
Okay.
I'm the senior vice president with KSA. I oversee our aviation group. One of my first projects as an engineer was at Castroville when we completely reconstructed the airport back in 1996.
Excuse me. Dan, come on in. You want to come? Yes. I'm sorry. Please note that Dan Jones, our city attorney, has just arrived.
Running a little bit late.
It's okay, sir. Okay. I went over real quick what our intent is an interactive conversation with projects. Yes, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Not a problem at all. So since 1996, and I've been involved with a number of projects out here at the airport since then. With me is David Kirkpatrick, and I think maybe a few of y'all know David.
Hey, most of you guys know me. Those of you that don't, retired military aviator, worked for Textile Aviation. I was the airport manager for the city, and now I'm with KSA in the aviation consulting side.
So I understand the intent of the meeting is really to dig into the projects that we currently have with the city, answer any questions with that. Unfortunately, we do not have any current projects with the city. We've been engaged with the airport for a long time. We've done a number of municipal projects, water, sewer, streets, drainage through the years.
Hold on. We got a channel playing on the TV.
Let me straighten my expectations with y'all. Then is
I have no idea what.
I have a history working with the city, but I've been gone 17 and a half years. During that time, y'all worked with the city doing the layout plan at the airport.
We completed that in 2022.
And then I think we have one other council member that may not be fully familiar with that. Just give us an overview, a real high level view of what that is.
Sure, certainly.
I know I have some people that's been asking about doing other hangars and how do they fit into that.
Very good. So essentially, every airport has to have a master plan, at least has to have it in terms of receiving federal and state grant funds. That's one of the requirements. Typically, it's a 10,000-foot view of the airport that lays out a development plan for 5, 10, and 20 years. In the 5-year plan, you feel real good about the projects. In the 10-year time frame, it's a little bit uncertainty, and then you have a 20-year plan that gets updated and revised every 5 to 10 years. And so that is what the master plan is. It does lay out development areas such as for hangars. If you're in line for a runway extension, it will lay that out. It'll verify that you're meeting all FAA standards, and if you're not, it'll document the deficiencies in those areas, and then it'll put together a capital improvement program. It's basically what are your needs over that 20-year time frame, with a really heavy focus on the first 5 years, and that's part of what David does in his job. Amongst many things with KSA, he works with our planning team and works to put together those master plans.
Does, I know I don't want to take over this, but I want to get some questions really quick. Airport zoning generally, in proximity to the airport, managing development, that's part of the planning,
Yes,
or should be?
It
Should
should
be.
be, yes. One of the requirements for grant assurances is that you have zoning in place for the airport.
Okay,
And a lot of times that is based upon FAA standard services associated with an airport. And that will be documented in your master plan. It actually goes on to a document called the Airport Layout Plan, and it's a series of drawings that basically depicts all of those FAA services, those areas that should be clear of vertical obstructions, those areas that should be under the airport's control in that there's no development within those areas. So that piece of it is typically used for your zoning ordinances, and I'm pretty sure that the city has that.
the city has zoning at the airport. There's no question about that. I guess I'm looking for the areas surrounding the airport. Is that something that should be done with that plans?
Yeah, absolutely. So that alludes to Texas Local Government Code 241, and they talk about the different zoning areas and impacts of compatible land use. It's also part of your 39 grant assurances.
But that would be working with the county in a
There's
joint
a
airport zoning, right?
Joint airport zoning board, yes, sir. County and city involvement. I think the city here has the ordinance that from 1992. Getting that started. Typically, what happens is they lay out the rules of zones, they get the ordinance in place, and then they dissolve the board, hoping it's good enough to make it all the way through. There's an appeals process, just like your planning and zoning board that you currently have for the city. There's an appeals process for the airport zoning board as well, and I believe they were working on establishing that just a couple of years ago.
Well, but a few years ago, the city and the county dissolved the joint airport zoning board, and we're trying to put that back together. So my question is, that's pretty important to the airport layout, right?
It's very important to your FAA compliance with your grant assurances. So it coincides with your airport layout plan. The services are called the imaginary services, and they're just that because you can't see them. But it works hand in hand with both. So you'll have the airport layout plan, the airport layout drawing, all your terminal area drawings for your approach and departure services, your airport zoning that's going to then refer back to your exhibit A and your current zoning ordinance, and it'll be depicted as such.
Okay. Well, the city council took action to establish that, but yet I don't know where we're at. We're working with the county because it's a joint thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, we do that. I work with other airports in East Texas to help roll with their zoning requirements, interlocal agreements, how they develop their ordinances, how they keep the compatible land use going. We do all that usually on a professional services agreement for airport management assistance.
Just as a curiosity, once the city adopts the airport layout plan, and there it is, I'm going to ask you as far as, because your information you're talking about with FAA, is it kind of critical that the city stays with that on any other development, or can we just deviate?
If you deviate, it has to be documented. So any vertical structure has to have a 7460 submitted.
Okay.
The FAA will ask you if it's on your current and approved airport layout plan. If it's not, you must do a pen and ink change during the construction process.
Okay.
There's a separate portion of that called the 743. That's the FAA's determination whether or not they have ALP approval authority. So typically the system works in fours. You do a project, you do a 7460, you do a 743 determination, and you do the environmental documentation. All of that gets submitted to TxDOT. TxDOT says execute.
And that's on airport.
On airport.
But there's governance for off airport property. If there's development that's
Right.
to come in, they're essentially required to follow whatever city zoning or ordinances there are, and it should be hand in hand with your airport layout plan, which has the imaginary services.
But the property around the airport that's not in the city but in the county, that's where the joint airport zoning is critical.
Yes,
Bob?
Possibly, and I've known Mr. Phipps for about 23, 24 years, and he looks just the same. I'm sorry I got overlooking.
I mean, did you want to go to your present? I apologize. Did you want to do your presentation? Or are you okay with what we're
No,
doing?
we're great answering questions.
Okay.
Works great.
One of the things we've talked about is putting non-aviation items on the airport property, and in the non-aviation areas, and I would say at some of the extremities of the airport, maybe beside Airport Road that comes in there by the the object-free zone. You can't build any hangars or anything there, and so there's been discussion about maybe ESD would put something along that road because it's accessible immediately to 471 and Highway 90. We've had some minor discussions about possibly putting maybe the police department or some other facility out there on a non-aviation area, even though it's not reflected on the airport layout plan. That's the kind of thing that we could go get permission to do, and then show what the impacts would or wouldn't be for aviation at the airport.
Yeah, certainly you could have non-aviation use on the airport. It would need to show up on the airport layout plan. It would need to go through that approval process with TxDOT and the FAA. And in terms of those facilities, to maintain your grant assurances, you're going to have to see revenue from those facilities. You can't essentially just put something there and there's no lease agreement, there's no revenue that's being charged. That is part of your grant assurances, and you'd have to have that income.
Anything else? Okay. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, I know, just in case y'all haven't heard, the last time I briefed from the Airport Advisory Board, we have found a project that they were going to submit for consideration, where Brad Lauderdale's hangar is, the gravel area, looking at making that concrete in and making sure it's the strong enough PSI so that way, no matter what size plane, it can go across it. So you might be getting business here. Second thing is on the zoning. Does that include the space height as well as the outer side? Okay. Okay.
Yes, there are height restrictions
Yes.
associated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm retired Air Force
Yes.
medic, so yeah.
And
They-
those surfaces are directly off the ends of your runway, of course.
Correct.
Very critical areas there.
Correct.
Also to the sides as well. There are
Correct.
restrictions.
And the mayor already touched on this, we're looking at putting together the joint advisory board again. We ran into a lot of problems last time we were trying to stand it up, and David knows this. Would it behoove of us to pull in the knowledge and expertise to work with you guys and us in the county to get it up and running correctly, getting all the questions answered and everything? Would that be something we should do?
And I'll say, David just talked about a survey that he had put together for the Texas Airports Council and Commission. I'm not sure which they're called now, but you included some language in there as to what an advisory board is and their function.
I did. So we've got a couple, you've got your airport advisory board.
Mhm.
The Texas Airport Council, TAC. The city used to be a member of that. I'm the corporate board, president for that. So working with the Aviation Advisory Committee. Those are 5 members. I think there's actually 9 because we have several alternates. But they answer directly to the Texas commissioners for grant funding, issues regarding zoning, how to make Texas airports economically sustainable, things of that nature. So we're able to tap into those resources and seek the airports that have longstanding agreements that have these in place to get those questions answered. So using your airport advisory board, your joint airports on board, and then having possibly an aviation consultant on board that can bridge all those gaps is generally seen as a good thing.
Okay, so that's maybe something staff may want to, that way we get it done right this time and not have it fall all apart like we did. Okay.
Well, along that same lines, I was going to ask you, Scott, do we have any professional services that advise us on the airport at this time? I mean, the airport board, I'm not separating that. Do we have any,
Beyond KSA and Dave Dawson?
right?
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
No, we
Because
haven't.
they're not currently under a service agreement with the city, right?
I think,
Or are they?
okay.
They're not.
So, no, we generally we'll check with Ben Breck, who's at TxDOT,
Okay,
and run a lot through him. We have used Chuck Friesenhahn. He was under contract until this budget cycle. He was removed from the budget
okay.
for the proposed budget this coming year, but he's still around. He's still someone that we can hire on an ad hoc basis as needed.
Well, the reason I'm asking, I'm going to go to some, and if I misunderstood, I misunderstood. The airport layout plan updated 5 years? Is that what I heard you say?
2022 it was done, and it's usually looked at every 5 years, so you can make sure your capital improvement plan is on the current TxDOT and FAA capital improvement plan. So to get a grant project, you have to have the project on an approved airport layout plan. So most major airports, I use like the DFW area, for instance, they execute their CIP projects systematically every 5 years. So when it's complete, they do an airport layout plan update, they do all their CIP changes, and they resubmit that to TxDOT and the FAA for approval for consideration in the next 5-year CIP plan.
So we currently are following that same process.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to spin off on this, and if I say it wrong, I say it wrong. I would think that we should consider entering into a professional services agreement for at the airport.
Mhm.
Specific. Is that what I'm,
Yes, because I mean,
with whoever it may
2027
be?
will be here before we know it. I mean, and
So we have
we-
somebody to turn to, and we're not,
If I might, Mayor,
TxDOT's good to talk to, but they don't represent us, they represent TxDOT.
that's exactly what I was just gonna bring up. Typically, airports are shifting over to what they're calling an on-call, and you'll do a 5-year professional services agreement, or up to 5-year, I think that's statutory agreements for that. But you'll list all of your projects that are on your packet, airport layout plan, capital improvement program. You'll list that on your RFQ. You'll submit your RFQ, you'll do your selection just like you would at TxDOT. And anytime one of those projects come up, and you feel like you have a match to execute, you pull right off that list. You've already got a consultant on call. That consultant then does your grant management, your design, your construction administration, your certified payroll, things of that nature. So it really eliminates a lot of that interlocal agreements with TxDOT. It puts the project back in your hands. It puts the budget back in your hands, and it puts the timeline back in your hands.
Okay,
I just want to add, Mr. Dixon mentioned Ben Breck, who is the city planner at the airport. And I always recommend go through your TxDOT planner. They are your grant
Sure.
funding agency. You want to make sure everything that you do meets grant assurances so that you can be reimbursed or you have a grant for every single project. So always recommend working with TxDOT. We work very closely with them.
yeah, they've reached out to him already regarding the Brad Lauderdale area down there. So,
Mr. King, I'm sorry, excuse me, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Mr. King, did you have anything you'd like to ask him?
Yeah, I guess your agreement with the city ended in 21, but you all have been doing work for it since then, right?
So our original airport layout plan agreement was with TxDOT. So TxDOT was the agent, they funded everything, the sponsor agreement was with the city. So I don't think we had an active PSA since the USDA tender. And that was a singular unit where the city acted as agent through the USDA funding source and procured KSA for the design and construction of that 10 unit.
Well, I guess we have a professional service agreement with y'all, KSA, that was supposed to remain in effect until September 30th of 21, but then it would be renewed annually if we needed you. But you're saying that we've never had to renew, we never needed you beyond that professional service agreement with you all.
We have not done the master plan project was a standalone project. It's another dynamic layer agent sponsor where TxDOT has acted as your agent. They do all of the contracting.
Right.
They've done the consultant selection
I
process.
guess I always heard your name, so I just assumed you all were working for the city at those times. But no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we would
Okay.
love to, and when called upon, certainly always available to answer questions. And
Sure.
provide any information or contact associated with that.
Yeah. Okay, yes, sir.
When did you all join Peg Dawson?
So it's been a little over a year. It was
Okay.
October the 1st, 2024.
Everybody's still happy?
Everything's great.
Great. No, they're a good firm. You guys were a good firm. It was a good pick. So.
We are, if you'll indulge me, two Texas-based firms. They started in 1968 in San Antonio. We started in 78 in deep East Texas and Longview. So it was a very good match of values in terms of our two firms coming together as two Texas-based firms. So it's been great.
Is your basis Aggies? Because I know what Peg Dawson
I need to
is.
see how to answer that question.
No, it's okay.
You don't have to answer.
No,
We
because I
have a
know.
good mix. We have a good mix.
That's a good answer.
No, of course I know Peg Dawson very well and Gene Dawson
Well, they're Texas Tech guys, and we allow it.
one of them. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Yes. Some of the documentation we got for this meeting, it showed grant monies that the airport has in hand at this particular point. I think a lot was NPE money and stuff that comes every year, but it looks like some of it can expire in a particular period of time if you do not use it. And it looked like there were several hundreds of thousands of dollars that we have in NPE money and maybe some other that we need to give serious consideration of using it before you lose it. And KSA has been probably one of the few go-to engineering firms in the state of Texas that TxDOT recommends for projects or is more than happy to see cities take on to do their projects. And like I said, I think KSA has probably done 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects for us over the years. And it's always been an outstanding result.
And you've got that non-primary entitlement of $150,000 every year, and it's a 90-10 match. You have to match 10% of that. It does expire, but what TxDOT does with that money is if you haven't used it in the 4th year, they ask you to assign it back to them, and then they'll catch up in the future. That's the philosophy there. You do have IIJA funds, which comes from the bipartisan infrastructure bill out of COVID. That money does expire. There is a timeline for that money on a 5-year program, and if you do not use it, it's completely gone. It goes back to the federal government, and that is documented in the package.
Okay. Scott, did you have anything you wanted to add to this conversation?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And with that money, I just wanted to add, you are in TxDOT's capital improvement program for fiscal years 27 and 28 to utilize a large portion of those IIJA funds on an electrical improvement project at the airport.
And that's the same time frame where we need to update everything too, right? Yeah.
This year and next year, if you secure the grants, it's a 95.5. So you've actually done a lot better.
And there are new things happening at TxDOT in terms of selection processes and on-call list, whether you act as your own agent and not have TxDOT act as your agents. It's Ben Breck can explain all that type of information, but we're happy to come back and sit down with y'all and visit about that as well.
I think I know the answer, so I just want to hear myself say it more than anything else. If we had a professional service, if we had an active professional services agreement with you, we're not only talking to plan, but we're also talking about any engineering work associated with the aviation operations of the airport.
Yes, just as long as the RFQ is written
Right.
specifically, yes.
Okay. Is there anything else y'all would like to add? I really appreciate y'all coming and having this conversation with us. Anybody else have any questions?
If Bob Lee mentioned about the fire department ESD possibly going out there, would that be, because I've always been told that the Air Force is eager to start doing touch and goes with us, but we cannot have that unless we have a fire department present on the property. If we decide to do that, would that be something you would be able to help us, if we have you for our consultant, move forward and make sure we get it written right and everything like that?
Yeah, I would think so. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, I was going to say we have a new employee, Paula Jordan. She came over from DFW. She was land and airlines and other type of business things. She helps a lot of airports write specific leases and make sure the lease terms are proper. And so, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Just the last thing I'm going to say is, and I heard you say it, so I want to make sure I heard it right. Non-aviation activities at the airport, as long as they're in the plan, the approved plan, and there's compensation to the airport, then they can be there. Correct?
Yes, those are the two big things, and we'll just want to make sure
Thank you.
that they're located in a spot that's really not good for aviation.
Right, right.
Right.
Laid out, addressed in the plan,
Yes.
that's an approved plan, and there's compensation for that areas.
And there
Got it.
will be an approval process to go through TxDOT and the FAA. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight in that process. There's a little bit of time.
I guess what I'm getting at is if you have areas, and I'm not saying there are, if you have areas that are deemed as not necessarily suitable for aviation, and you did it for other purposes, they don't necessarily command the same rates as aviation primary.
Possibly not.
Possibly
They're
not.
gonna want-
There's always possibilities.
Yes,
You never know. Everything's up for discussion.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Well,
Go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, we do appreciate being here. We do appreciate being asked, even though we don't have an active project. I've been blessed to be able to work here since '96 and have enjoyed the projects, have appreciated the projects, and to work with Mr. Lee on many of those. And so thank y'all for having us.
And I appreciate y'all coming, really do. Thank y'all very much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Yeah, that wasn't that hard. The one I have listed next is, Scott, are you okay if we just go down this list?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Is it Synergy? Let's go here. If you would please, sir, just introduce yourself, and if you want to do your presentation, we can do that, or you kind of.
I would, Scott, do you have?
Yes,
that?
sir, you're sure.
I have it in a PDF format. So I've got it up.
We're more than welcome to go through that.
I just want to set a little bit of, just a couple
175.
minutes on the kind of setting a foundation here.
Yes, sir.
First of all, my name's Dwayne Duke. I'm a licensed engineer. My function at Synergy is client management and project management. So don't do as much engineering as I once did early in my career. But we do a variety of things for the cities, which is why I'd like to go through this presentation. So, yeah, you could switch the slide. So
I'll watch you flip and I'll.
okay. So we're a company based in Bernie. We provide energy services. The electric energy space is where we spend our time. We've been in business about 31 years since the early, well, it's 34 years now, since the early 90s. So privately owned, if you would put, there you go. These three characters own the company. And so it's locally owned, locally controlled. Next picture, please. We're about 110 employees. So pretty good size engineering firm relative to many out there.
Can you pull your microphone up?
Not as many as the previous presenter here, but decent size. And if you would, this is where I'd like to. So our focus is in providing engineering services for your power system, your electric distribution system that you own here, as well as consulting service in that same space. So we're doing, as you can see, regulatory, financial services that all align with the electric utility needs. You want to go to 2 slides here? That would be great. I'll spend a little time talking about the engineering services we offer. One more. So we offer full service engineering. The city doesn't need all the things that we do. You're not in a generation, but you have a distribution system. So that's where I'm going to focus our time here. Field services, things that would be going on out in the field. Sir, could I ask you to speak up like you're mad at somebody? I will try.
That's what I wanted to say.
I was trying to make this a kind of a minimal part and let you ask a lot of questions. So, system planning is better. Just as the previous speaker was talking about, this is where we do analysis for you, looking at what your system needs will be 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if you want to look out that far, it gets kind of hazy. We also use this particular area to help if you had reliability problems, or if you had a large customer coming to town and what's the impact going to be on your system. Our planning services would fulfill that need. Next slide. The overhead and underground engineering, that's the poles and wires that you see in the air as you're driving down the street. This is our bread and butter, part of our business. And we have done work with you over the years in this space, helping to improve your system. In the consulting space, which is where we're doing more of our work today, again, full range of services, regulatory, financial, energy supply. If you needed to do training, program development, we offer all those things that support the electric utility space. Focusing on regulatory. So I want to spend just a little bit of time here because this is one that the regulatory environment in our industry has changed fairly significantly over the last decade. So there have been a lot more regulations placed upon utilities that you have to meet. So we try to work with modest-sized utilities to provide that expertise and guidance and help you ultimately avoid fines and any legal actions that might transpire. So, and looking at the long term, I don't see that trend changing. It's going to continue to be that. I think the regulatory environment is going to continue to expand. So this is an area we provide services. I can't point to a particular project right now, but we're here, we have a contract that you can utilize at any given time to utilize our services. Similarly, in the financial services, we cost of service studies. We do this for water, electric, gas. We're probably the one thing we've been working on recently is the natural gas side. We work with you with your PCRF, the power cost recovery factor. That's something that's an ongoing piece of the business that we do with you guys. So again, we're here. That doesn't go away like another capital project might be. It's an ongoing effort. Power supply, similarly, this is an interesting area. You go out for contracts infrequently, but you have to act in the ERCOT market routinely, every 15 minutes, every day. So it's a really wide-ranging part of our job here. We've helped you recently with the power supply negotiation piece of procurement, and I'm not sure if we're doing anything on a daily basis with you. You probably are using I'm drawing a blank here, another entity that does your 15-minute and hourly and 24-day or daily forecast. Now, you wanted to focus on the projects, so if you could advance a couple slides there. So I mentioned before we've been working on the wholesale power supply contract procurement. That's been ongoing. Mayor, we've had a conversation recently along these lines. Excuse me. In 2023, we did both the electric utility cost and water and wastewater cost of service and rate studies that help set the rates, justify the rates. And ongoing, then we'll help with the financial forecast, make sure that what has been used in the rates is producing what you expect, making sure you're staying financially whole and charging the appropriate amount. Mentioned earlier the PCRF, which is routinely updated. Then again, here's the natural gas rate study. That's what's going on. We made a recent presentation. Understand it was really the next step is just, like I was saying, monitoring the results of how that's performing versus what we forecast, because forecasts are never perfect. And then lastly on this one is the distribution engineering design. So we've provided some support here. We did in 2024, the certification of the location of generators was one of the projects. And we do some related work, developers as they're around your area. We work with them that may be interconnecting to you or have some impact to your system. And then currently we have a general engineering project open that if the city needs us for any of our particular services, they just pick up the phone and call, and we already have the rates and everything scheduled for that. So last thing I'd like to say is we've been doing this since about 2012, 2013. So hopefully we've done a good job and like to continue going forward. Questions?
Is Schneider Engineering part of y'all? Electric?
I should have said this in the beginning. So Snyder Engineering was the original company name.
Right.
About 2 years ago, the name was changed to Synergy.
Okay.
Ownership, the three fellows that you see here brought
Right.
out their fourth partner, and then the name was changed shortly after. But it's the same company, same location, same employees
They've been around a long time.
since 1991.
That's not because I want to believe that we worked with them when I was here on some rate study issues. Also, I don't know if they were the design engineers. We did a major overhead electric upgrade in 2001. Rebuilt probably 2/3 of the overhead lines in this town.
Right.
And then were they the design engineers on the underground changes in River Bluff?
Yes, sir.
The recent-
The rehab work that was done in River Bluff, I was not the person.
Is that completed? Do you know, or?
As far as I know, it is.
Yes, River Bluff
It
is.
is,
Mhm.
okay, and it's taken care of a lot of problems.
Oh,
And
yes.
the next big one is Country Village, because it's actually older than River Bluff.
Right, right. In the underground neighborhoods like that, this is par for the course. CPS spends millions and millions and millions of
Right.
dollars each year.
The system in Country Village was put in 85, the one in River Bluffs was put in 86. So it's
40-year-old cable.
yeah, and it's not jacketed, and
Right.
it's just the whole 9 yards. It's laid right with the gas line down in there, intertwined.
Yeah.
Anyhow, rate studies too, I believe Schneider used to do some with that. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
what y'all are talking about. Okay. That's a real short verse. So you guys are the electric and gas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The electric and gas. Okay.
Why don't you start with the other end?
Okay. Sheena?
You mentioned that we had our most recent electric and wastewater rate studies done in 2023. For the electric, when you do the rate studies, do you also help with the fuel surge charge of what we could possibly be charged by from ERCOT or whoever we get our electricity from?
That's all part of that.
That is all
effort, yes,
part of
ma'am.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I got a
Yeah,
lot of people coming to me saying, why is the surcharge more than my electric bill?
It's a challenge.
Okay, and you mentioned that you're helping with on the distribution engineering line design and support location of generators. Is that ongoing right now? Because I know we've been
I
talking
thought
about
that was completed,
No,
ma'am.
that was for a grant submission. We're talking about the generator grant.
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
saw it with FEMA, and we leaned on Schneider to help us with that. There are some deliverables that were needed as part of that grant process.
Okay, so it's not the other generators we're looking at right now?
No.
Okay, all right. And as far as the natural gas, you said that's ongoing right now?
We just finished the cost of service and rates, and it was approved, as I understand, the last time we were here to present. So we're in the monitoring stage at this point
Okay.
to make sure it's following the model that was created to generate that.
Now, does your model adjust since we are the official owners now with CPS nowhere in the,
It should, yes, ma'am.
okay. All right, that's all I have.
Mr. King?
Related to Sheena's question, the two generators we talked about buying.
Mhm.
I thought we had already submitted, but we were waiting forever and ever and ever.
That's correct. So we still have, and we're still, as far as I know, in the queue with FEMA for
Right.
funding on those generators. But the generator lead time takes.
Oh,
whatever it
it's-
takes.
2
Yeah.
years.
So we placed on. So
council approved funding. We
Mhm.
placed them on order. We didn't need Schneider to tell us what to purchase because they'd already done the work
Right.
for us.
Right.
So you could say that, yes, they helped us with both,
Okay,
but we only went to them one time.
Right.
Where they told us what we needed. So yeah, so those are on order, and we still hope that maybe we'll get a grant before they actually get delivered. We can use the grant money instead.
Sounds good. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Okay. And that's the only question I had. And you guys do great work.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
Yes, I've, back when I was setting up here about 12, 13, 14 years ago, we used the company to give us, help us find the very best deal for Castroville for electricity.
Yes, sir.
And I know they've been used subsequent to that. And I think it's another great choice the city made for an engineering firm that has just really outperformed expectations. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question as far as growth, just off the cuff. Have you been asked to, as we get new developments, let me back up. There is no certified service area for natural gas. Is that a correct statement?
I believe that to be true, yes.
Okay. It's defined service area for water, defined area for wastewater, defined for electric, but there's nothing for gas. Just for whatever it's worth, I sat in Mr. Lee's office downtown San Antonio and told him, since there's nothing to stop me from fronting a gas line all the way downtown San Antonio if we chose to do so.
Correct.
Okay. Having said that, there is new development out here on the east end that there's another gas utility out in the area that just your thought as far as the city's capacity to expand its gas system versus not doing it in development and allowing another gas utility in. Just a broad stroke thought.
I want to pause real quick. So
Mhm.
we have not leaned on Synergy for gas capacity in
Okay.
this regard. And I was going to clarify this. I was waiting kind of till the end. You had stated electric and gas, right?
I did.
Really, they're electric primarily.
Okay.
Just a tiny bit of gas. Remember the regulatory and some of the other functions that Dwayne mentioned earlier. We were relying on two other groups. That would be our good friend.
Price?
No, what? Utilities? No. The two folks we use for gas for regulatory. I'm trying to remember Simon Pena.
I know Simon.
You know
I know
Simon Pena.
Simon.
And Bill.
So you're not doing any design
So-
work for gas?
And then the capacity study we did separate, and I'm trying to remember the name of the group. That was the one you just mentioned, Utility Solutions. So they helped us do the gas capacity, and
Okay.
that's the group we probably should ask that question of. They're more of a utility construction group. They've got engineering in-house, but they go and do capital projects, and they're the ones that we leaned into in place of CPS. To do that capacity analysis. But the short of it is, if you're asking capacity question, what they told us was we had the capacity to supply that new development, and that we could further improve our redundancy and capacity both by doing a small linkage, tying in two portions of our gas distribution system over near the Country Village subdivision. So kind of on the southeast side of the Country Village subdivision, there's two gas lines that terminate that if we built a linkage between them, we would greatly improve our capacity and our redundancy. And that's just from the study they did.
Right.
That was one of the things that I think John is still working on with them, is to develop a capital plan for our gas system. When we talk about CIP, that will be one of the things we talk about.
Right. So I guess the short answer that I'm going to say, and if I'm wrong, tell me, we don't have somebody that takes care of engineering associated with the gas here today.
No, not today. No.
Okay. So,
Not the engineering side, no, sir.
okay.
But to answer kind of the second piece of your question, you really got kind of one first bite at the apple. So if the neighborhood is going in and you're the
Sure.
one that's there, whether it's electric, water, gas, I would say if you
Right.
have the means, that's the time to do it.
Okay. I was just curious because, yes, sir. Because I know we have a development that did not put gas in.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of the country is concerned about all the data centers that are going in and what that's going to do to reliability, to power, to communities, and prices. Could you share some of your inside thoughts on that?
I give you my thoughts, and it's Dwayne's thoughts, not necessarily the company's here, but I'm concerned as an individual and as an engineer that's in this utility space that the data centers that are coming in, and I was at a presentation a couple weeks ago that was, the speaker was talking about 20 gigawatts of data center in ERCOT market. That's equivalent to 20 nuclear plants like we have at the coast. This is enormous. I mean, the phrase that was used there at that conference, it's stupid. I mean, it's crazy numbers. If that part of the customer base captures the least cost energy and they're going to have the biggest stick and incentive to do that, I'm afraid the rest of us are going to pay more for electricity. I hope that the state legislature, the PUC, ERCOT can rein that back, but if they don't, that's where I think we may be headed, unfortunately.
And we got 5 coming up, Dina.
On another question on the electric, two parts. One is, have you taken a look at any of the fuse coordinations that the city has with how's it coordinate with any changes to be done on that? And the other part of that is, overall analysis of the electrics, of the city's overhead electric system as far as safety and reliability in all areas of the city, especially like around schools or such like that, where there's overhead lines that may or may not be the safest way to do things.
Right.
Just as a thought.
To answer the first piece of that, the reliability, to my knowledge, we have not done any kind of coordination or protection study
Okay.
across your system. We're fully capable of that.
Sure.
I'm not aware that we've done that.
Okay.
And then the second, they actually really do fit hand in glove. If you were doing that, it would be a good opportunity to do kind of a system-wide analysis, forecast your load out 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, however long you'd like to look, and then develop that in vernacular construction work plan, civic improvement plan, however you would like to phrase it. But that's certainly what the planning piece of Synergy does.
But those are some of the things that y'all could do as far
Absolutely.
as for the city on the electrical system, reliability and safety. With that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do y'all work for the city with the city of Bernie?
We
They own their
do.
electric
We do
system,
work
too.
with the city of Bernie, Bandera Electric Co-op. So
Okay.
we're right here in the backyard.
Okay.
So
I figured that since y'all are out of Bernie.
Medina Electric Co-op. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Anyone else have any questions? Scott, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I don't think so. So just clarifying, we don't have an engineer on staff for our gas systems. The
Okay.
last two QUIP programs, I said DIMP.
Right.
Capital improvement plans were engineered by CPS and put in by CPS.
Okay.
So we are, that's one of the things that we're working on with Bill is to plan our next DIMP project. And we just did all of the AMI, the meter replacement for those gas meters. So I think I have to verify with John where we sit on the DIMP plan.
And we
That's why you
do,
don't have an engineer.
okay. And we do have a professional service agreement with your firm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wonderful. Any other questions? I want to thank you very much for coming out here and sharing some of that. I know we can get into the weeds
Way in the
really,
weeds, yes.
really quick. The electric's what I cut my teeth on here. So, I mean, we could go as we've done before.
As we have already.
And had a lot of discussion with that, a lot of history. So again, I want to thank you very much for coming here and sharing some of this with us and kind of updating us on some of the things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Look at here. See, we're not having a big problem. We're good. All right. Next one, we're going to have respect. Kevin,
I have hard copies, if you'll need them, all the various documents.
you want to give us an overview or you want to just,
Well,
wait a minute, for disclosure purposes, I am still the superintendent of East Medina County Special Utility District, and Respect is our district engineer for water for down there. So, but that doesn't interfere. But I just want everybody to understand that I have a working relationship with Kevin. in my full-time career. Okay.
Can I disclose that I work with a bunch of these firms also?
I just,
Seriously? Okay.
I just wanted to let everybody knows that because, and I told him up front, if I seem to get a little more personal with Kevin, it's a little different issue.
Sounds good.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
We don't have to go through the slides. I recognize the main intent is to primarily go through our services with the city, but brief overview. I'm Kevin Hunt, utilities lead for Texas for Respec. Appreciate the opportunity, Mayor, members of the council, to come and present a little bit more about our firm to you. We're 100% employee owned. We have over 600 engineers, professional geologists, young engineers, water, wastewater, data technology solution specialists across the country, currently in 16 states and 2 provinces in Canada, all the way from Alaska down to Florida. Locally, we have 11 staff shared between San Antonio and Castroville. Altogether, collectively, over 100 plus years of experience. And we're growing. So I'll tell you that. We have additional staff that we're adding. I guess I can talk about what we see as potential success stories that we worked with the city on successfully, or we can go through the details of the projects, or I can open up to questions. I'm open to either or. If you'd like me to talk specifically about some of the projects we have open with the city, I'm open to that as well.
I'd like to give you just a broad stroke about the projects you have open that you're
Sure.
currently working on.
Sure,
And
sure.
then open it up for discussion.
Open projects right now, we have on-call services. So as the city gets a new potential developer come in and they're asking about utility availability, we support the city and their staff on looking at the available utility services, especially on the east side of town. That's where the most demand is. So that's one of the key things. There are other items from time to time that we're asked to look at. For instance, during the drought conditions, we were asked to look at drought scenarios relative to water rights. And based on city provided information, staff provided information, we analyzed how much pumping the city had versus what your water rights were, just to see, and if we run through a full year of stage 4 restrictions, where does the city fall out, right? So we did an analysis on that, kind of reported to the council regarding that. That's one of the things we kind of do under the on-call services. That's one of those additional items that we're asked to do from time to time. Current open task orders, we have task order 16, which the well is currently being drilled right now. We're hoping current schedule, I think, is another 2 months roughly to complete the well. And then the second phase of that project, pending funding and finding, getting through that process, would be the tower, the pumps, and all those various scenarios there. And that's the well improvements for a plant up in the Flat Creek development. It used to be Jaggy Ranch, Alsatian Oaks Phase 2, been called numerous names. Another task order we still have open, although we have not been actively working on, is task order 17. It includes wastewater improvements, including we had looked at a flow equalization basin at the wastewater treatment plant to help with the flows there, and the fact that it gets fed by multiple lift stations and trying to balance those flows out to help with feeding the plant. We'd also looked at the main lift station in Regional Park and improving it because the wet well there doesn't really have any storage capacity. And along with that was a main outfall line improvement project that we had looked at. As part of that, we televised it and had a sub-consultant come in that we had it flushed in as part of that televising process. And then the other part of that would be adding another pump at the east side lift station, which capacity doesn't demand at this time. So we put that on the back burner. It's not something that we weren't looking any further at funding. Currently task order 23, the CDBG project on over off Alsace in Berlin. That project we're hoping to be complete soon. Most of it's in the ground. We're hoping to close it out. It did come in under budget whenever it was bid, so we looked at adding some additional components to that project via change order. There's a process we have to go through that to meet state criteria, but in order to utilize all the funds that were granted, we looked at, okay, what else can we do? We have to be very specific, though, and careful that it only benefits the area that was analyzed. So that's one of the things that's kind of held up really being able to move forward on it. But we are actively working on that. Task order 25 was regarding a particular piece of property on the east side of Castroville and how to extend utility services. In particular, the ask was, what alternative scenarios could we look at to provide water service to that property based on current available water? And then task order 26 is currently open. We just have a feasibility there, or kind of a feasibility period set up to coordinate with TxDOT regarding the improvements along US 90. But that project has been delayed. We don't know a whole lot of detail about why or additional information. We were expecting to get a draft set, 30% set of plans by September. We're in October now. They said it was going to be a month or so delayed, maybe a month and a half.
This is the one that I've kind of told you about a couple of times, that if anything keeps me awake at night, this is kind of one of them. Although I feel a little better after our last 2 meetings with TxDOT, but the issue is relocation of our lines, which we have to do at our cost. So, TxDOT comes along and says, we have this project and we're going to do it. And if your utilities are in the way, too bad for you. You're going to have to move them, right? That's just the way that works. And unfortunately, we're kind of in that predicament. But, and the unknown is, well, okay, what do we have to move? When do we have to move it by? And what is it going to cost us? And that could be a lot of money. That it's kind of like an unfunded mandate if you look at it that way. But so far, it looks like we're going to have very little impact to our lines. I think there's one potential area, maybe two. There's the one I can think of is by Bill Miller. I think there might be something there we have to move, and then maybe on the downhill side, leaving town on the west side of town towards the where the Baptist church is. I think there might be a line there that's they're trying to verify the depth of.
Well, they're having to completely reconstruct the BMA canal crossing. So I think the BMA canal crossing, they're having to completely reconstruct that. So that part, for the most part, it's a pavement project, but they are including storm drainage there in front of Bill Miller's, which will cross the water mains and other utilities in that area. So we have to at least look at it to see if we're in conflict. We're likely in conflict because of just the preliminary discussions we've had. So we would be looking at having to make adjustments because we are in TxDOT right away there. Joint bid, yes, we did indicate we like to joint bid, try to get some economy to scale there, hopefully. But that's the intent, is to look at it simultaneous. Typically, we have to look at exceptions if we're in TxDOT right away to keep our utilities there, as opposed to acquiring easements, which comes with its own time and cost.
And they've expressed a willingness to look at exceptions. Is my recollection to the
they did, yes,
yeah. And some of the stuff they said, look, if we can redo our plan, so you don't have to move, just to. They're willing to look at some of that as well. So again, it's an unknown. Yes, sir.
Are they talking about widening the bridge?
No.
Okay, because
I don't believe so. No, the bridge is staying the same width. But
so you're talking about the water line or the sewer line in front of Bill Miller's, or both?
I think there's a gas too.
Well, it would be.
There's a gas across this Highway 9.
There's a gas as well. We don't have as much information on that, but they're putting new underground storm drain, which would cross any utilities that are there.
Because the water line goes down under the bridge and back up the Alsatian house. The sewer is a different issue if they go from the intersection to the north, because that sewer is not deep at all where it comes out of Bill Miller and it goes under 471. It's very shallow in comparison. So any type of drainage work is going to interrupt that. Because that, where Bill Miller is, used to be a lift station to push it across the highway before it was Bill Miller.
So that's the kind of stuff, you can kind of.
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
See what we're dealing with. So
Sure.
That's kind of stuff we're working through right now, but we are still waiting on more information.
The
Okay.
BMA channel, what do we have up by the BMA thing that we're responsible
It's primarily the west end of
They were-
town.
Yeah, there was one
There's-
line, and it may have already been resolved, frankly, but the call I was on, it's been some weeks ago now. There was one line they were trying to verify the depth of.
There's an 8-inch water main that goes under Jackson Street right there, goes under Highway 90. When they widened the highway in 1980, they allowed the city to put a sleeve in. And then in about 2000 or late 90s, they run an 8-inch water main across there. So it's probably not very deep. And that may be where you're talking about.
Yeah, depending on
Right.
some of those projects, some of that stuff, they're going down to a depth of like 4 feet. And that,
Yeah, you're pretty tough because even at, depending on how far they're coming into town.
that's what I'm saying. It's somewhere on the hill where that stops.
Sure.
So yeah. Anyway, that's
Okay.
being looked at.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still a conflict or not.
Okay.
We don't have the 30% plans from TxDOT yet, so we really can't go any further in analyzing. That's why we just kind of, okay, we're not doing anything until we get that from them to be able to better analyze it.
Do you have any
They
TxDOT
indicated- do what?
Do you have any TxDOT conflicts where all this work's being done on the east end that you're aware of? They haven't brought any with the gas or anything?
It's pretty deep. It's pretty new.
We've had some, but the developer had to pay for it. We're building our gas line.
Well, I was referencing that 4-inch steel line that comes up 471 and turns back to Highway 90. They're pretty dang close to it where they added that extra lane.
No, they're aware of it.
Okay. Okay. I just thought I'd ask. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Kevin.
I think that concludes our open projects at this point.
Okay. Mr. Lee, did you?
Yes, I have 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
The East Side Lift Station, you talked about putting in a third pump. Considering what that station, well, I assume with 3 pumps, it could, well, some of those are backups, correct? So with the size of the pressure line that goes to the main lift station in the park, is there any possibility that we would ever end up being under capacity with that force main or that lift station?
We would have to look at it. The primary point of looking at putting in is an additional pump is there's space for it, but primarily just for redundancy,
Right.
to comply with TCQ criteria to have that redundancy there. If you have another pump go out, you're down to only one then. So it allows you for that ability to maintain it and operate it a little bit more efficiently in those scenarios. So
When we're talking about limitations to the system, what we've discussed with the RESPAC, and again, kind of like the mayor said, correct me if I'm wrong, but where we have our issues and the reason you see them prioritized the way they are and the way that we're tackling them is the first kind of point of constriction is in our lift stations. So that's why the Country Village lift station is being done. The next one is a regional park lift station. That's the next kind of constrained area. And then the next area is the plant itself, which is why we're looking at an equalization basin there. The main force main is not the point of constriction. That at someday, yes, you could hit capacity potentially, but there's a lot of other projects that have to be done before we even come close to hitting the capacity on the force main. Is that accurate?
correct.
Now, separate
And
apart from that is some of the sewer line that was put in that the council should be aware of that was put in poorly, and its full capacity was never realized from the day it was put in because it was done poorly. That sewer main ultimately, I think, is going to stay. Eventually, if there's a portion of the sewer main that has to be replaced, again, that's before the force main. That would be done at a developer cost
Right.
as part of their.
Next question. Communities that use recycled water, reclaimed water, and use it in other capacities within their communities, do you see any benefit for us to look at that kind of thing here, or is the cost to do that extraordinary?
We can look at it. I think that's been discussed in the past. There is cost associated with it. There is quality factors. There's also perception factors, of course. I mean, from the standpoint of what do you intend to use it for, right? And so the other recently, other discussions have been around potentially brackish water, trying to tap sources that are not limited by the Edwards pumping rights. So that's another thing that has been discussed throughout this area. The problem there becomes, what do you do with, typically the problem is, what do you do with your waste?
Yeah.
Are you going to go for a new discharge permit and then open it up to public comment and go through however many years of cycle of that? and do you really want, I mean, the other that comes with that is, realistically, do you want that to be discharged? Or do you have an injection well opportunity somewhere by? So that's usually the conversation that comes about related to that. Just based on the size of your flows and treatment plant, I don't think that we would look at allowing it to discharge into your sewer system right now. That is, some places might consider that, but I don't know very many. It typically, anyway,
Wreaks havoc.
it wreaks havoc on your wastewater treatment plant and your numbers coming in.
Okay, you mentioned taking a look at our number of acre feet we have from the Edwards and how our consumption levels look. I know we've looked at this over the years, and we, in the past, we have feast or famine with water. We'd gotten to the point we were doing a 30% cutback a number of years ago, and but the city never got to the point that it was able to do a 30%. It was more like 22, 23. And I was just curious if that is unique to us, that just because the aquifer got down and you're at 30 or 40 or whatever, there seems to be some kinds of customers that are really not able to cut back to those very same levels. And so I'm just curious if you've got any knowledge of other communities and how, how they do when it says cut back 30, cut back 40, do they actually meet that or not?
I would have to look into it, I guess. Typically, it's a challenge, right? The first part is education. So the more you can educate people,
Yeah.
my gut tells me no.
They
Right?
do one of
I mean-
two things. They either lease water rights or they pay the fee.
Yeah,
That's
usually.
generally what those communities are doing. They can't cut back, right? I mean, I know I'm looking at the mayor because I know that his system, he's currently still a part of until December. They lease water, they help those communities out by leasing water rights to them.
We buy
So
water
typically
rights,
they're-
we lease water rights.
Yeah, I
We do
understand.
everything we can to get what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, Saws has shifted their approach, right, to try to enforce it more. I'm not particularly a Saws customer, but I mean, I hear about it, and so I think now they're looking more at your usage, your demand, as opposed to driving around and giving you a ticket if you're watering on the wrong day. So they look at it. They look at throttling rates if you're an excessive consumer. Those are the big things. Obviously, controlling loss is a big part of it as well.
Sure.
Well, that kind of tied into my question about reuse. Okay, because our experience has been outside irrigation is a huge user of water. And of course, if you look around town, we've got probably 1,000 plus dead trees around. But if there is a way to stretch what you've got by some other method. But yeah, I think of things like, nursing home or apartment complexes, you can't cut back 40% living in an apartment. You're not watering outside anyway. So it's nice to have the goal, but is it achievable, I guess, for some users? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. King? Mr. Marchman?
I have one question. Early, you talked about looking at our consumption against what we're pumping. And you do that, are you currently making that report monthly?
Not monthly. We do it on an as requested basis. There's quite a bit of coordination between
Right.
city staff to get, okay, how much did y'all really pump? And then we have documentation of the rights that we can see. We've had to confirm that a couple times though with city staff as well, because there's some, they're kind of assigned here and there. So
That's something Jeanette took their model, Respect provided their model to John Gomez and his assistant Jeanette, who's been working on that report. So when you look at the monthly staff reports, you should still see, I believe it's still the case, it was in the last report, you'll still see that year-to-date usage that you'd requested. So that's still being done. It's just not being done by them because they provided what we needed. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gina? I have a couple of questions, and I guess you referenced the indirectly desal. You have a task order that you're working on with the city on that, or no? Or are you just kind of just there?
Not
Because I know we're
specifically-
trying to work on a potential presentation to the council, but are you involved in that? And so, or
only at a high level coordinating, and so we kept it as an on-call service right now because
Okay.
it's not really getting into design. It's not getting into it. There's a lot of what ifs.
okay,
if you will. And because of the area of demand, it would also be a matter of, do we look at developers potentially, and how does that factor in? Do we get them, to help fund that growth?
okay,
It'll become a task order if and when council says, yes, let's do that.
okay. I want to ask you a couple of questions that you referenced these. Task Order 17, wastewater improvements, flow equalization, main lift station, main outfall line. What percentage this may not be a question for you, it may be for the other engineers, but what's the percent of capacity we're operating at the wastewater plant?
Today, I know you're only about half, right? Or less than half.
30%?
No, probably at 40.
You're using one train today, and it was built with two. Whenever we first entered this task order, the flows were so low.
Right.
That's why we were looking at a flow equalization basin to try to extend the one train. But
You felt flow is, Ricky, about 30%, 300,000 a day? About 260, 250, 250, 260? So the same as it was 15 years ago. What's the capacity of the wastewater plant? 900 a day? So we're running about less than 30%
right.
capacity? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So a lot of room to grow. A lot of room to grow. Okay. Just want to say again, a lot of room to grow. Okay.
Takes a long time to build a new one. So we don't get it right.
Well,
That's why
we built this one 10 years ago, but anyway,
We
I just wanted to ask that. And the lift stations, the main lift station, what's the status of that if you guys were looking at it? Has there been any recommendations on rebuilding it or doing a new one? I'm just asking because I mean,
we were at 90% plans, and due to the cost of the improvements,
sure.
it was put on hold.
Okay.
I believe that a new pump has been installed.
Okay.
And so there's been better functionality.
Right.
But we're limping along. That's one of
There-
on your CIP is
Okay,
unfunded
there's no
balance.
storage in the 18-inch outfall or the infill, the line coming in is actually used for storage. It
That's
backs up in
correct.
that line,
Correct.
and that's problematic, and it has been for a long time. So, okay, just thought I'd ask. Sir?
If I might, one of the things we have looked at, instead of the flow equalization basin within the treatment plant,
Yes.
is looking at options, which we have not moved forward on, but potentially looking at options for storing the treated waste in some of the basins. I believe that some of the conversations we've had with staff,
Right.
if you wanted to look at a reuse scenario.
All right. Yeah, because
We did both.
if I'm not mistaken, when I was up there, and I probably am mistaken, the old carousel clarifier and stuff is basically just structures.
Correct.
They're not components of the wastewater treatment.
Yes,
So
we've had both Respec and Lochner looking at that at
Right.
different times. And you'll hear from Lochner in a little bit.
right.
Again, the issue there has come down to cost. Is it worth it? Is it worth $250 to who knows $400,000 to store
Right.
that reuse water.
Well, I know, I don't want you to take this wrong way, but I'm just going to just say this. The carousel, the clarifier, that plant was designed at 600. And so even if it was in use today, it'd only be operating at 50%. So that's my point is we have a lot more capacity than what we need. Now, don't get me wrong, as we get all the build out and development, we need the capacity. I got it. But I could tell you that. I
Bob's
know.
disagreeing with you.
Well, I was part
But
of
I
it
agree with you.
when they built it.
I agree
So
with you.
I know that. On the discharge of the wastewater plant, well, I don't want to get into that. Regulations change, and I understand that. But I know what the structures were built for because I was here when they built them. The
Were you thinking, can we hear Bob say what you?
Yes, sir, please.
You guys disagree.
please. Oh, you want to hear us disagree?
Yes.
He was a mayor with a new plant.
Yeah,
was
well,
built.
you know, you were here through part of this, and I was here through all of it, planning this plant. But our usage was about 225,000 gallons a day.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we had a lot of inflow from other sources sometimes, and
Yes,
then you get to that TCEQ business about percentages where you've got to do something. Okay, and we had about 1,100 customers, somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Okay.
Alsatian Oaks, 1,000 homes.
Yes, sir.
Flat Creek, J.R. Horton.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
now I got 2,000 more customers. So if I'm using 30% now and I put on 2 more Castrovilles, the plant's basically where it needs to be.
I'm not arguing with that.
We just did, yeah.
No, I did not.
And there was
I
a
said under.
compliance- There's also a compliance issue. wasn't there?
Exactly.
Well, let's not go down the road with compliance because TCQ says on a wastewater, you don't even have to start design until you're 75%.
Oh, no, I'm talking
So-
about the quality of those,
so-
of the effluent.
Well, that's a whole different world too, as far as that. And that's not worth discussing right now.
But they had to do with a lawsuit type thing, I think, if I remember right.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I know we have, for whatever it's worth, I know we have probably the most restrictive parameters on discharge of even San Antonio River Authority. We have more restrictive discharge requirements. But I don't want to go there. That was a negotiated issue that the city agreed to, and it is what it is. Do you have anything, are you involved in anything with beneficial reuse permit for the wastewater plant? No, okay, then we'll talk to Glockner about that.
You talking about bed the banks?
Yes. Again, it's just a history thing. The city's intent was to get a discharge permit and then immediately file for what they called a type, was it 210 beneficial reuse permit? So they could reuse that water somewhere else. And I guess we're still working on that. So we'll talk about that more. Black Creek. My understanding is, and we're working through this, and Scott can go with it, that we have you're doing well. We have a plan of action down the road to do an elevated tank. There's been a proposal out there to developer to do other things so they can get service. My question is, and just listen to me, because one of the conversations I'm hearing is that there's some coordination issues that need to be done better between all the engineers when it comes to water and wastewater issues. That's my general observation, and I'll wait to hear from the others too, because the components have to work together. And so we have multiple engineers working on water and wastewater issues that need to be able to coordinate their activities to be able to succeed with the projects. I'll leave it at that. That's my observation. Anything else anybody want to ask to respect?
I guess related to your statement, you're talking about Lochner and respect. or the engineers, or there's other?
Actually, I believe there's, well, let's just put it like this. I'm glad to see, and I'm sorry, your name again, the inspector, Robbie. I'm glad to see he's here because one of the questions as far as I posed was, are we sure that we're getting what we're supposed to be getting in the development? Are we seeing the engineer's report? And one of the comments was, well, we see the materials. Well, but how do we know that the materials are going in the right spot at the right time? And in order to make a command decision on a water system improvements that the developer wants to do, we need to have insurances that certain things are being done in a right manner to be able to make other components work. And at the time of the conversation, it wasn't fully clearly there.
And one of the city's consultants was responsible for looking at those reports, you're saying?
Well, I asked who's looking at them and who's making sure things are there. And I'm glad we met, and I've talked to Ricky too. But I guess when it comes down to the designs and the development, my question came down to is who's overseeing those designs, who's ensuring those designs match up with what our plans are, overall match, whatever, master planning for the water system. If they match up with this, are they that, or are we getting what we are being told we're getting? And assurances. And at that time, it was difficult for one engineering firm to do something without confirmation on the other side from someone
So
else.
you're talking about the developer's engineers and the city's engineers
Well,
coordinating to make sure that what the city wants, the developer and the developer's engineers and contractors were providing.
I'm saying what's in the ground out there is exactly what the city wanted to do out there, not what the developer engineer wanted, but what the city wanted and what the city said is going to be there and assurances. And at that time of the conversation, there was no assurances that I'm going to hear right now that there are assurances, so I can feel a whole lot better.
Everything's based off of the soft specs, anything out of ordinary, I'll contact engineers, everything going forward, because I mean, it's gonna be our utilities, so the way I look at it, it's our.
Sure.
It has to be done our way. Anything design stay, have specific rules, when I inspect, how I inspect it.
Sure.
How it has to be.
My
As far as
question,
material stuff, like the fire hydrants, I do check them, make sure they're per print, what the prints are saying, piping, concrete pressures, rebar levels, everything I go through it on a daily.
I guess my question to you is, and I got that, and you have a set of plans that you're going by for the inspection, and I think that's awesome. My question is, are the design plans match up with what the city's master plans for water system improvements are? You wouldn't know that. The engineers would know that, but one engineer working on one component doesn't know that. So it's a coordination between the engineers to make sure everything's being done, because you're designing this component here, this component here, this component here, and trying to put them all together. You're following a set of plans. I got it. You understand my point here?
I think what you're saying is that the developer's engineers developed a set of plans. Did someone on the city review those plans to verify that those plans meet the city's
Master
criteria?
planning, that's correct.
Okay.
And it's being done accordingly.
And then once those plans have been approved, then our inspector can look at those plans and say, this is what's going in.
Right, but I guess but what I was told, what I heard was, we don't know
And
if those plans, because they haven't, one component is not seeing what the other component's working on. They're not necessarily working together in
the
sync.
city's engineers being respect and lack.
They're not fully in sync.
So they don't, it may be that there's something missing. And I think I understand your question, and I guess Scott's response to that.
Well, I'm trying to think back to the conversation or the context of the conversation. Are we talking about specifically the conversation that happened with Flat Creek and
Yeah.
their design? Okay. So that was early on in the process. So, Yeah. So typically what has been happening, and John, it might be helpful for you to lay this out, but typically what happens is developer comes to us.
Sure.
But Flat Creek's a little of an anomaly because they're trying to do something outside the scope of what we've already asked for. They're just trying to get, so they're looking for any solution they can find. And we are in the process right now. What you saw was sausage being made. We're in the process of doing exactly what you want us to do, which is make sure that if they come to us with a plan, that plan meets our master plan.
Right.
Typically, when a developer comes, so Alsatian Oaks, Flat Creek, Victory Lane Partner, who just name a group that's looking at developing right now, we look at our master plan first, and we tell them, here's where your water lines and sewer lines exist, and here's what our master plan says that you need to put in. And we give that to them in the preliminary conversation so that they know what the expectation is. Then as the designs come in, they go to John first. He confirms that the design is correct, that they have designed to our master plan. The master plan is then shared with the plan review. So the people doing the plan review set, before it ever gets to Rodney, they look at our master plan to make sure that that's being done. So it's checked about 4 different ways before it actually gets put in the ground, or before it gets put on paper and finalized and stamped and approved and said, this is your set. So that when Rodney gets out there, I mean, he can be pretty confident that piece of paper reflects what we're asking for. So he doesn't have to go back to stage 1, because stage 1 was handled with John. Did I miss a step though? Because generally, again, the first conversations with Brianna, John, myself, and we sit down with that prospective developer and we try to answer their questions. We make them aware of our GIS. We provide a lot of information up front to ensure that they're aware of what they're getting into.
Okay.
So yeah, that's being done. I'm sorry if you left that conversation and think that wouldn't happen. It's just with that particular issue, we were seeing them literally at the same time you were. And we were asking ourselves questions like, well, wait a minute, what does our plan say for that line going south? And what are they putting here? We were going through that process that we typically would go through to ensure that what they deliver to us meets our master plan.
I just want to make sure that we're spending millions of dollars to build a production facility that's not going to be choked down through the piping through a subdivision.
Understood, yeah.
Well, see, I guess the reason I brought this up is like, what, 3 years ago, out at Alsatian Oaks, there's something about the manholes all had to get torn out and rebuilt because they weren't doing them in accordance to the plans, and they realized
Again, the plans were
deficient.
approved. Yes. They were to the set, and when we went out to inspect, they were not.
Okay.
Right. So we made them tear it out. And
that's
redo
correct.
It. So I
thought that's an example of that working, if you will. It's not working perfectly because the contractor, tried to get away with something.
Yeah,
I got it. I'm back to my whole thing is I just want to make sure that the main gut going down through, I'll say, Flat Creek is not going to become a hindrance to the maximum use of that new well and elevated storage.
If it does, we'll blame Respect.
Okay.
They design.
Anything else, Kevin?
No, sir. Thank you.
Respect. Anybody else have any questions for Respect? Okay, thank you very much. Now that I really stirred that up, let's go to, is it Schaumburg and Polk?
Yep.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm John Schmaling, project manager with Schaumburg and Polk. I also have with me Nick Dubose, our office manager. If you could bring up the presentation, I'll go through the bulk of it pretty fast to respect your time, but I do want to just kind of go through it. Flip to the next slide, please.
I'm going to see if it actually stays up when I do this. It does.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a quick overview of our company, a few of the projects that we've done, and then give you a brief update on what we do for Castroville, and then give you time for Q&A.
Sure.
If you don't ask during, feel free to ask anything during the presentation. So next slide, please. So Schaumburg and Polk, we're a company that started in 1937 in Beaumont, Texas. We currently have 7 offices and just over 80 employees. And you're currently serviced by our Kyle office, which is a fully staffed office with engineers, a couple designers, as well as a business development professional. Next slide, please. We really, Schaumburg and Polk, our bread and butter is municipal engineering, which is all the different things you see listed there, but it's LiDAR surveying, capital improvement plans, asset management, quality of life projects, et cetera. And really, our bread and butter is to work. We really like to work with smaller cities, and especially like to partner with them to find like grant and water development board funding opportunities. So if you could flip to the next slide, that's really just a big list of a bunch of different grant and TWDB projects, and then if you that we've done. That a bunch of them are highlighted in yellow. That just illustrates cities we've done projects for with grants and water development funding, similar to the size of Castroville. So that's really our bread and butter. Next slide, please. We do our favorite types of projects to do, and we have a lot of good staff at our various offices, are the water and wastewater infrastructure projects. And even in our Kyle office, we're currently working on those first couple of projects, elevated storage tank design in Bastrop County. We're doing a wastewater extension in City of Blanco. And then the rest of those are ones done from some of our other offices. Next slide, please. We also do other quality of life projects, downtown revitalization, sidewalk projects. Our office specifically recently did a couple projects with the City of Marble Falls, downtown pedestrian improvements, sidewalk, etc. Next slide, please. We also are capable and enjoy doing trails and park projects. The biggest one that our Kyle office has been working on and will continue to work on is the City of Kyle's Vibe Trail. So that's a large regional trail that'll be built over a number of years in the City of Kyle. And some of our other offices have done some smaller variety of projects like that. Next slide. So as far as services with you all, we are currently contracted under task order 1 to just do hourly services for development review, mainly like when either larger developments come in and they're coming in for a preliminary plat or a final plat, we help in the review process with that. And that's really our main thing we work with you all on an hourly basis. Next slide just shows you, we've only been on with you guys for this year, so we've done this handful of reviews you see on the screen. And we'll continue to do those as they come in. We don't currently have one we're looking at. We just finished up Country Village Estates final plat review. Then next slide, please. One other thing we're working on, this is more of a business development thing, but we were working with some city staff to look at the Houston Square and some concepts for possible improvements to celebrate and enhance Houston Square, and looking at where might there be, funding opportunities. But we're in just the early stages of that, and that is not something we're like contracted under a task order being paid for. That's just something we're looking at with city staff as a business development endeavor.
Concept being that we may be able to apply for a TDA grant. If we can go get grant monies to make improvements downtown.
Yeah,
they would be able to assist us with that process.
So that's one other thing we're working on, and then really that's our overview. We pretty much do development review for you. We've been doing that since March. Appreciate hearing some of the discussion you just had, and we'll continue to look at things and be careful. We're looking at it from I tend to focus very much on, is what's being presented in line with your code of ordinances?
Sure.
That's my biggest focus. Although after the discussion you just had, I'll ask some more questions on some of the higher level plans, because I'm happy to be a secondary stopgap in case, it just
So,
is more open.
so just to sum up, you're actually, through a professional service agreement, tasking to do like, development plan reviews and
Yes.
and maybe some large commercial development,
Yeah.
plan reviews type things.
Yep.
That's what your
we
primary
do.
purpose is with
Yeah,
us right now.
that's our primary purpose. That's what we do.
Okay.
The hourly billing on that. And you guys either pass along the cost or whatever you
Well, we do.
Yes.
We do. So you work, primarily with Brianna
Yes.
doing the plan reviews? Who else?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. King, did you have any questions?
No.
Mr. Marchman?
No.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Under the Houston Square Enhancement Assistance,
Yes.
what are we looking at as far as referencing to, because you said reference ordinances, are we looking at the CZO?
Oh, so with that, that's not really a development review. We're looking at more like what are some options for possible improvements,
Right.
Which could range anywhere from something as simple as mill and overlay the parking around the square to putting fancy stamped concrete or pavers. So we're kind of
Okay.
looking at concepts for things to do there, not so much
What
looking at your ordinance.
to see what it matches?
Now, I will say we're aware of your downtown master plan, but we were looking at some more simple
Okay.
options to celebrate and enhance what's there.
Okay.
Not like
Yep.
do the grand,
Okay.
replace everything kind of a thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, do you guys, talking about Houston Square there, it sounds like y'all are trying to grow the services your company provides, possibly.
Yes, that's one way. And we would love if you ever had a wastewater or water project that you want us to look at. Be happy to help with those.
We're into those free engineering services, I'll tell you.
That part we probably won't do. So finding the funding.
Well, I'm just
is-
reading on the sign there,
Yes.
no cost to city.
No, I like that.
So do you have experience? Does your firm have experience with historical communities, facilities, structures, that kind of stuff? I know you talked about more of the on the ground kind of things versus structures, but I was just
Yeah.
curious.
To be honest, I'm not sure if some of our other offices do. What we do have is staff that are aware of that stuff, and actually one of our staff, who is not an engineer, is our business development guy, and he actually used to be he used to operate as a city manager and had other things like that. So we have some people like that have knowledge of that sort of thing. And then we've kind of looked at, we had talked with some city staff about what might be a more palatable options for Houston Square to get a discussion going. So we're kind of taking those things as input.
Okay, well, if there's something we can do that would help you to broaden your work area that would also be beneficial to us, especially if it was a reduced rate, I think that it might work for both of us. And I saw a lot of boat dock kind of things. We'd like to have some
Yeah.
boat facilities and the water that goes with it.
Yeah, that was just a fun example of quality of life project, but yeah.
Scott, I have a question. Who did the plan reviews before these folks came on board?
Lochner primarily.
Okay, and no disrespect, they weren't able to do them anymore?
No, they were. We honestly, it became a demand issue. We were having an issue with getting things back in a timely manner, and I don't want to.
I don't want to disparage anybody.
Right.
I just wanted to
Me
ask
either.
you why
We
these
started
folks.
looking at other options, and
Okay.
we reached out to several firms. With Pape Dawson does this types of work, but there was an obvious conflict with Pape Dawson at the time, and still is to a certain extent. So ultimately, SBI was able to step in and help some, and we still utilize Lochner for a lot of different things, as you'll find out in a minute.
Okay.
I was going to talk about this at the end, Mayor, but yeah, one of the things that we will talk about as a council that I want to hear your input on is I'm a big believer in having as many, and it doesn't cost us anything extra to have many different engineers. I think you can benefit from having free looks from time to time. Asking one, hey, what do you think about this? And bouncing ideas off them. It's a way of ensuring that the city's getting the absolute best service at all times. So I'm no respecter of engineers. I generally say that. Not because I certainly have really good working relationships with all the folks that you've met today and many, many more. And a lot of these firms, as you just heard John say, they're hungry for business. They would love to have more of our business.
No, I understand that.
But I believe that the city is best served by having multiple engineers, even if they have similar capabilities.
Where is 175 Bank Avenue?
I think that's going to be your brand new development on the east side of town. I don't know what the names of those streets are out there. I see. Town East Crossing.
Commercial right next to the bank, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the street that runs through there.
Okay, all right. I had never heard that street name
I had
before.
the same question.
Yeah.
You'd think they would have used the Highway 90 address, but no, so that's
Well,
what
there's
that's
internal.
Right.
There's internal streets.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that's gonna front that new road that goes through there.
It's going to tie Highway 90 and 471 together. Yeah.
People don't realize there's like three phases. I think there's three phases to
Okay.
that development.
Just thought I'd ask. Okay. Sir, yes, sir.
What's the average price per gallon for elevated tank now? Just the
Good
tank.
Lord.
The one we're currently designing, which is a 400,000 gallon tank. I'm just going to spitball the number, about $4 million. So whatever that is in dollars
And
a
how big a
gallon,
tank?
it's
How big a tank?
How big is it?
400,000,
How big? 400,000 gallons.
400,000
$4
gallons.
million.
Yeah.
$1,000
That's $10.
or $10.
That's $10
Wow.
a gallon. Elevated. Depends on all depends on the type of construction.
Yeah, and this is a multi-legged tank. It's
Right.
not a
The
composite.
The least
or-
expensive ones.
Yeah, it's the least expensive. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I thought I read. Now I may be wrong. I thought I read in the council minutes when these folks were approved that you were going to task them with something to do with water, also. In the council minutes.
I don't.
I would have to go back and refresh my memory. I don't recall that because when they were brought forward, it was only as a plan review.
Okay.
And they have stuck their foot in on the TDA because they offered the service for free, which we appreciate.
Okay.
But it was primarily as a plan review. I don't recall anything about water.
Okay.
Now we may have referenced that they are I know them from my past in NS.
Right.
You saw a couple of their projects. I don't think those are the
I may be
projects I did.
mistaken, but I thought there was a reference to tasking them to something to do with
No.
water.
No, I just recall it was to help
Okay.
the city with the commercial plan review.
Okay. And what's your turnaround on plan reviews typically?
2 to 3 weeks, typically 2.
Okay. From the time you get them.
Yeah.
Okay. You generally come out with, you're using our ordinances to make
Yeah,
sure
I
compliance
come
and
up
all
with
that.
my comment letter
Yeah,
from
yeah.
them, and then after the engineer turns around their, like
Sure.
developer engineer
Right.
addresses things, then I draft on the city's behalf an approval that's signed by myself and at some point in the future, Brianna, and that's what we do.
But your firm also does civil engineering, water, wastewater things.
Oh
like that.
yeah, that's really the bulk of what we do. And
Okay.
one thing I'll throw in that I think is kind of good about us doing the development review is you don't have to worry about our firm ever being one of the firms that's like doing development engineering. I mean, we do maybe a little bit of that, but not much.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to be like, we're definitely independent of that
Okay.
land development world for the most part.
Where are y'all based out of?
Well, our headquarters is Beaumont, Texas, but we have
You have offices in San Antonio or close by, or you
Kyle is
came from
we're-
Beaumont?
No, we're Kyle office.
Okay.
Close one.
Okay.
Close one.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, comments? No? Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you being here.
Thank
You
you
will
for
see
your
them
time.
at TML, Mayor.
I will. No, yes,
They always
sir.
have a presence.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We need to take a break for a few minutes because I'm going to lose a quorum. I have a council. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're recessing at what time?
We're recessing at, we saved the best for last, at 4:15 PM.
Live stream is still on.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Give me your best shot. Yes. Yes. That is a true statement.
Yes. Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it. Appreciate what y'all doing. Okay. No problem.
Just make sure we don't talk bad about you.
Make sure you get the microphone for the podcast.
Yeah. Since we were quiet. Hey, you know that grave marker we found? Well, there is a grave marker at St. Louis Cemetery for that guy.
No, nothing's on there, but that's
We
what
had
I'll sign it.
based on the name, but I don't think that's part of the St. Louis Cemetery. Are you still on? I don't have to around there. But I know a couple of guys.
Drinking a lot more water out of it. Got a flavor things you squirt into to flavorize the water.
Yeah.
I switched from
If,
drinking tea to
his expertise to the team is he speaks pretty good German. So that was German, and well, I sent it to you and it said something about, so it's religious grave marker here lies somebody in his first two initials on his sign. It's four letters, but there's only four letters. It makes sense as Schneider. Well, there is a Schneider with that name. So we go to Ancestry.com on this guy, and it says he's at St. Louis Cemetery. So we go up there, and once there, it's like this big, and it's just hot water coming off. Because that has a German scroll on it, but because it's a German scroll, it makes it difficult to decipher. But it would be neat, if we can grab hold of that. You know, Josh. But he was at the Hero Friday.
Yes. That was the awesome house on your Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, well, the chainsaw.
The chainsaw. Yeah.
So,
that was in the.
I didn't.
One of the city employees.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah. Thought it was in here. Yeah.
So that'll
Oh, yeah, I do that too.
Yes.
I was telling you, what's his name? Place No, it's not.
No, Darren said has a similar position in another city. Nope.
And this one is,
Well, there's two things. One is vandalism, and someone threw it off the kitchen, moved the whole fridge.
there was a condition, but if you have a picture, right, and that,
So, you know, the line was that, but each of the offices were equipment, so it's just that, and then you just out of the bank.
Exactly, they're like.
and it wasn't, but it should have been things like Fourth of July, getting sponsors, and having a name band playing for free. Yeah. And didn't do any of that.
But that one's more, the one there is really more important because it has guidance from heaven. So
Now we
the big library.
Streets.
Streets and jail.
Yeah.
So he was one hired brother and he and brother.
Hey,
All
Dan.
right, let's get this going. Okay. Ladies
Try to stay away from some of this stuff, you know.
All right.
The presentation.
All right, where's our,
He was up there earlier.
I tried to put you up first.
I know.
I know, but you know what?
No, I mean, I typed in KSA and it pulled up K.
Everybody else was doing our presentation, which is
It's
great.
4:23 PM. We're gonna call this back to order. We're gonna go back to Lochner. Mr. Persine. You want to give us a presentation?
Yeah, we'll
You
go
want
ahead and
to
get
talk us?
started. We do have a little presentation,
I
but
give you a lot of things to talk about, didn't I?
maybe a couple items on there.
Okay, good.
For those that may not know me, my name is Mike Persine. We appreciate the opportunity to come in and visit with you this evening. With me is A.B. Salinas, our stormwater practice lead. We are Lochner now. We sold the company. We've been K-Freeze and Associates since 2003. We sold in 2023, and so we officially sunsetted the K-Freeze name in September of this year. So we're Lochner.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
You called it back to order at 4:24 PM, Mayor?
This
For-
was not on, so
Oh, was it not on?
the live stream is always on, but the audio is not on.
That's all right. 4:24 PM.
4:23 PM, we called the meeting back together.
Okay, thank you.
Now you make
I think
Sorry.
I apologize for the,
If you could emphasize, Scott, please.
Is that one of the?
Yeah, so a little bit, just real quick for those at Lochner, we're about 1,100 folks nationwide. A couple hundred here in the state of Texas, about 7 offices, and there's 15 of us in the local San Antonio office, primarily focused on stormwater and water wastewater out of San Antonio.
can I ask you a question really quick before
Sure.
we go further? Do we have a professional service agreement with K-Freeze or with Lochner?
It's
K-Freeze.
It's with K-Freeze. And on that, like
Okay, do we have to redo that with a new name?
we don't have to.
I just thought I'd ask that.
Yeah,
Attorney?
our contract entity is still Valley. Still have the same tax EIN. But if you wanted to look into it, right, you could do it, and we would be happy to novate that if that's what you want.
I just want to make it straight.
So K-Freeze still exists
That's right.
and the tax entity still exists.
That's right.
Okay.
I will say we've been
But it'd
fortunate
probably
to
be a
work
good thing
with the
for us to
city
do.
since
Good point.
2017.
Yes, sir.
I think we renewed our contract in 2021. We haven't done a renewal since then, but we're working on miscellaneous assignments.
Right. I just want to make sure that we're straight.
Sure. Like I mentioned, we kind of skip over. There's a couple of folks in San Antonio that work on Castroville projects supported by some of our wastewater plant experts as needed. The next slide, please, Scott. Yeah, so a couple of kind of run through some of the current projects. We don't have that many current projects. One of them is a Country Village lift station. We're basically a rehab or an upgrade of the lift station, old components, old electrical. If you actually open the electrical panel, it looks like something maybe a DIY electrician built or something. So that upgrade's going on. I see Bruce taking offense there.
No. Now, wait a minute. That lift station, when it was first built, it was hydrodynamic pumps. We ripped those out so quick and put submersibles in there. But yeah, it was built in '85,
Yeah,
so it's been there.
it's past its service life, and so pleased to say that I think that project's finally back on track and going to complete this year.
Sure.
So that's good news there. Next project.
The permit renewal?
Wastewater permit renewal. So we submitted last year in November, well ahead of the 6-month deadline. I think we're finally closing in on the TCQ. They're very backlogged. So
when is the permit renewal date?
The renewal date is May
of
this of
25.
Mm-hmm. And we submitted November of 24.
We don't have a draft renewal or nothing.
We don't have a draft. They've finally been asking some questions. So we're not working on it unless they come in with a question and we answer it as we keep moving. I think we're getting close, though, based on the correspondence last week. I think we're finally closing in on an approval there.
Okay.
Next project is Bed and Banks. So your question earlier about the Bed and Banks. This one.
Speaking of backlog.
This one has been around. We submitted in 2021 and it was administrative complete roughly March of 2022. And now it's sitting there waiting for the TCQ to get to it. There's about I looked just the other day, there's 3 or 4 permits ahead of us. And the way they do it is chronologically. So first in, first out. And so we're held up by several other large water rights permits.
Last in, first.
Let me ask you a question on that particular one. So I just want clarity. The difference between they used to call it, I don't know, beneficial reuse amendment and a bed and banks. What's the difference between those two?
I'm not sure I could tell you the difference. I know the bed and banks, the purpose of that is so that you maintain the rights that the water you're putting in, you can pull out somewhere along the river where it's convenient for you.
Right.
So it's still your water. Whereas if you didn't have that, the water you're dumping in becomes state water and you no longer are permitted to pull
Once
it out.
Once it goes into that,
that's their state water.
Whatever, not even into the river. Once it goes in that channel,
then someone else
right outside the
take it
wastewater
out.
plant, it's owned by the state.
That's right.
I think your beneficial reuse would be like
More like a
irrigation
210 permit.
with the park.
No, that's allowed by permit. The beneficial reuse would allow you to distribute it to purple pipes
Right,
throughout the system. The irrigation of the park is part of your permit.
right. But I guess what I was saying is that if you, like San Antonio, where you have all the purple pipes all over town to water the golf course.
That's a beneficial reuse.
Yeah, whereas if you put it in the river, that's bad.
Got it.
Part of the permit renewal is a minor amendment to remove the ponds from the treatment plant process.
So you're removing the land applied.
They need to move to the 210 permit, but that would sequentially that would follow getting the permit, the minor amendment, get that approved, and then follow with the 210 upgrade. That's the way it's been set up with the TCQ. We just are stuck with the TCQ right now.
So the permit, the way it is right now, has both discharge and land application, and you're taking away the land application. Just straight 100% discharge.
That is correct. Yeah. And that's so we can get rid of the ponds because the ponds are a very expensive, very risky element of the city. Okay, and I think that's it for my portion. Yeah, and then finally just development review. So we'll acknowledge what Scott mentioned earlier, right? About that time, early this year, we had some staff members leave and had some development projects come in. And so we are by practice, by interest, we are designers. We do a lot of capital improvement projects. I think this makes us good at development review, but also that means sometimes we get overloaded, and I think that's what we saw. And so I think it's smart for you to have some additional engineers in to review.
Do you do any water system design or improvement work for the city?
Not lately. We have done some water line improvements for the city.
Okay.
We haven't, keep in mind, we've been kind of in a dry spell.
I understand.
Be a pun, but so there hasn't been a lot of activity for design work because
that we have is presented, but we'll kind of talk through and explain a little bit of why we have those concerns. And then the other project that we've been helping with is on the other side of Geneva Street, where we are helping with constructing a drainage channel within the street right of way to alleviate some drainage and flooding concerns that are occurring in that area. So we've been working with Ricky and his crew to help advise on putting together a plan concept for intercepting that flow from the street and taking it down this channel. And so currently we're working with the manufacturer with a kind of an erosion control blanket called the Fleximat on that, because if you've seen it, it does have some steep grades out there. And so we want to make sure that we protect that from erosion. And the plan there would be with a seed mix, it'll allow for some grass establishment, so some lighter maintenance, but it kind of blend in a little bit with the terrain there. So those are the kind of the active drainage projects. And of course, on the development review side of things, we're reviewing drainage as well as floodplain development. So if there's a LOMR or something like that, we will review those map changes and models. And then as far as, I think there was a component in the ask for today's presentation about any sort of risks and near-term needs. I think one of the things that we've talked a little bit about with Brianna is the need for an update or a development of a criteria manual for the city with respect to drainage. It could be more robust, and by that creating some more certainty for the development community. There's a lot of growth that's occurring, as we've talked about, on the east side, and I think making sure that we have the criteria in place to help protect and develop that area with clarity would be helpful.
Outcomes and successful.
And this is really more focused on the drainage side of things with respect to outcomes. And so what we had listed out here is just making sure that we have good stormwater management for the community that relates to development and any projects that we have planned. Making sure that we have a robust CIP list and priority that we want to pursue for either funding through the general fund or going out there for grants. And so one of the things that we've been helping is with the Texas Water Development Board. The Flood Infrastructure Fund is one of the main grant opportunities that are out there. And so we're going to resubmit some projects related to that. And there's other grants that are out there. Some of those are smaller in nature. So, a lot of times when we're talking about some of these drainage projects, they're pretty large and require significant dollars.
The last one was just questions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that covers it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Yes, I have a question about the Geneva Street project. And I was looking over some, I live next door to that project. Used to own that property myself. And it was started a year ago in September. And I know it was supposed to be a low dollar fix. I hate to even ask what it might have been now, but have you got a projection as to when this might be completed?
I may have to lean on Ricky for that. I think right now where we are is a material order for the erosion control blanket, and the process for that is it's delivered basically in a roll, and they just roll that out. And so I think we're in the final stages, and once we have that material, I would think it's maybe a matter of a month.
Yeah, it's a relatively short period. Sorry.
I think one question is how many times we used to
What?
do that?
Okay.
Design. How many times?
Have they redesigned it?
Okay.
You sure I want to ask that?
Yep.
Yeah. I was
you-
going to ask this question, but I didn't want to put you on the spot, and it probably wouldn't be you. I was just curious, how many times has that project been redesigned? Any idea?
But how many times has
It's
that
changed
project been
dramatically
engineered,
over the months.
designed? Just you at the end here?
What do you mean?
Did you originally design that project?
Yes, and the scope of the work started out with developing a a concept, just enough guidance to help.
Sure.
And then as we went through that process, new things were learned. And so with that, the design was modified. Part of that related to location of property lines in the right of way. And so that changed some of the alignment, which, dominoes into everything else.
Okay. I have been taking the entirety of that water for 25 years. That's come down that street onto my property. You probably noticed that very large ditch over there with the
Yes, sir.
with a bulkhead wall, which has washed out a couple of times in the past. Not lately though. We did have a bit of rain here. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 inches after you had done quite a bit of the work. What, 2 or 3 months ago we had quite a bit of rain. And there on the corner where Mr. Gerloff's property is, the water runs along his fence and misses the intersection. It runs across the edge of his yard and around and then down Gentile Street to me.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you have dramatically lowered the input to the channel and the intersections have been lowered, it appears to me it's still a good board of it's going to not go to the channel. It's going to make a right turn unless there's some raising done of the pavement there just past the intersection and build up the edge of his yard, because that's the path of least resistance still for a good portion of that water.
And
so take a look at that if you don't mind.
I think the work there has not been completed.
Abe,
I
tell
didn't
Bob I mentioned that to you out in the field.
Yes.
And that's what he's talking about, is that thing we
And
talked about.
the intersection, the work is not complete. I think there's still some lowering that's going to be done. There's going to be some asphalt that comes in, and when that asphalt is placed, that's when we would have some of that elevating of the roadway, and I think there's some grading to the right of way that's going to help direct that flow into the channel. But we just haven't completed that work
I think
yet.
it's going to run across his yard through his fence and then on down there. So yeah, take a look at that. And
Okay.
I mentioned to Mr. Gerloff that it appeared that still a good bit of that water is going to pass through the edge of his property unless it's built up. Thank you.
That's been our challenge.
Yes,
Is
sir.
we've had a lot of people looking over the fence at the project that is not finished, and they make assumptions based on an unfinished project that, okay, this is the way it is, and that's why we had the whole conversation about the roadway and some of the other issues. But
Right.
the project's being developed.
You have an area, limited area of the right of way,
Yeah.
and you're trying to change the natural drainage patterns to force it down that road. And so you have to work through all of that, because that's the short version of what you're trying to work with.
Yeah. Well, we definitely will look into what you just said, Mr. Lee. I think
you're doing that.
Yeah.
I think I do think this project is I think I take it as I wasn't involved in the design, right? But I take it like being a back seat to the project, right? It's a good example of the right, growing up here, right? There's always the why don't you just, right?
Right.
And sometimes that gets you into these problems where you kind of just keep doing a little bit more, and really if you just stopped, took a step back, really done a holistic assessment, right? You end up where you were going to end up in the first place, but you do it on purpose rather than piecemeal.
Right, and I know that's what you're trying to deal with. And there's a lot of issues over there than just cutting down the road and putting it down it. So anyhow, let me ask you. I'm sorry. Did you have some more?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Maybe I'm going to ask you this one, and I know different people will call it Garcia. I'm not going to argue Garcia, Garza, Creek, whatever. What's the estimated project cost there? Engineered project cost?
The objective is under 1.2 million.
No, I didn't ask you what the objective is.
Well, I mean, our cost estimate was under that 1.2.
Okay.
That was option. We presented 3 options
Yeah.
to council at the 30%, and went with option 1.
We called it, I think, option 1.
And that was the 1.1.
Okay. Are we trying to now shape it where it stays on basically city property, or limit the amount of private properties it goes across?
That's the discussion that we're supposed to have to the following council meeting, because I think there's two paths. My daughter's stoked up, but I see 2 paths.
Okay.
There are 2 paths, and one is you're going to hear the engineer talk about the pros and cons. What they're recommending is option 1, which is taking the limits of the project all the way down to where y'all made those improvements 24 years ago.
Sure.
And then there's the other option that Councilman King discussed, which I think you've also discussed with him, which is limiting the scope of the project to just the
Sure.
immediate area on the bridge. Now, both of those, just so you're aware, both of those entail us needing to get easements because the project as it's built today we never got an easement and extends beyond the city's property. So we
Right.
should have gotten this easement
Right.
way back when, and we just didn't.
Right. No, I got it. And I understand that. There's a lot of different thinkings in the past about easements versus natural drainage and
Sure.
what have you.
A question for you. The developer, I assume, designed that bridge there, right? And then the city approved it.
The
Do you
way
remember?
the way that bridge was, I want to say it was approved by the city, but there was leadership at the time that told Public Works to stay away. So the staff didn't have any input into that. That I could tell you, but the whole subdivision. But anyhow,
Wow. Well, the bridge has some unique challenges.
yeah.
And
Well, there's a water main under
I've
there
got- yeah, I've
that
got
the
questions
concrete broke
regarding
off and broke the water
this.
main a couple times. And as I've talked about, that big slab of concrete was poured to protect the water main from being washed out because it'd been washed out before. But anyway, there's a whole lot of history.
And-
You're trying to work through that.
right, and I'm prepared to talk about
Sure.
that as well if you want.
So there's, and I don't know, I guess I should look at it, master drainage plan for the city type thing.
Yes.
Okay, I know there was one 20 some odd years ago, but you've recently redone one and looked at it,
Yes.
different stuff. Okay, and we go from there, and these both fit into that plan, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you're doing drainage plans, do y'all look at anything about streets too, or just the drainages? As far as engineering, do you do anything with streets in the areas of the drainage, or just focus on drainage and someone else takes over on the streets? Sorry to ask that.
Well, let's see if I answer.
Because a lot of the streets in this town are used for drainage.
Yes. I think I'll give the example of a project that we're working through right now where it's a drainage project, but we're proposing storm drain infrastructure within the roadway.
Right.
And so with that, we do coordinate with Public Works, and is there planned upgrades and needs for the water and the wastewater? We'll roll that into the project.
Sure.
Is there a street per the, what do you call it, the transportation master plan or the corridor
Okay.
plan of what's that street section need to be? And so then all those things get worked into it. I don't know if that's answering your question.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, when we looked at,
It wasn't looked at like the city, like you weren't getting to the level of service and like, do we want to keep water at this depth? And
No.
basically the whole thing becomes full of water.
Lochner itself does not go over and look through all our streets and projects, but just what might be interactive with drainage you would be involved in.
yes. So I can just tell you when we look, I think I'm answering your question, Mayor, and I'm looking at AB while I answer it, Michael, because I know this was a deep conversation, and Brianna too. When we were looking at the Athens area drainage,
Yes.
the streets, to your point, are conveyance mechanisms. It's not
Yes.
just on the south side, on the north side as
Right.
well as you go the other direction. And we had a lot of discussion, both in the public meetings and in the development of that drainage plan about how streets interact with bar ditches,
Sure.
et cetera. So I think the answer, the simple, straightforward answer to your question is yes. Where streets historically in Castroville have acted as drainage flows, they're looking at the streets, and they're quite, I think that was an opportunity. We took that opportunity to ask that question: do we want to change this?
Okay.
Do you want the street? This right now, the street is not really drivable during a flood. Is that something that's okay with the community? Do we want to? Those are the types of questions that we had in the public domain when that plan was being
Sure.
developed.
Well,
When we put together the estimate, whether what and it ends up being is another thing. But what we put in the estimate is, for example, in the Athens example, we had it was a street with a curb and gutter, inlet system, storm drains. If we had water lines running through the length of that roadway, we estimated full replacement of those water and wastewater lines because of the size of the
Okay,
infrastructure.
when you look at the streets, take, for example, Athens Street, it was intentionally built as an inverted crown for the drainage. Do you look at I&I on the wastewater on those manholes? I'm asking
did- I did
you,
not.
Mr. Persine,
No, like I
on
would say,
wastewater. Have you guys ever conducted an I&I study for the city?
We have not. The city had one done a couple of years before we came on board. I don't know the full extent of it, but they did an I&I study, as I recall. We do a lot of sewer rehab,
Right.
and then we would look at from a design perspective. We would look, yeah, can we raise these manholes? We'll go back over the watertight ringing covers and all those kinds of things.
Sure.
But yeah, just from when you're looking at the drainage, you're not necessarily looking at it.
No, I just thought I'd ask that because of the way some of the streets are.
Yeah,
There's a lot of moving parts and just simply coming in here. And no offense, I'm not saying simple. None of it's simple in Castroville. Because you got to look at the way everything was put in and how it matches up. Maple Street, when they did that underground, we had to slice and dice sewer lines and gas lines and everything. Yeah, so everything was a challenge.
Well, the city's hired them to design some of our streets.
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking. Y'all doing
Yes. Yeah,
some?
I mean,
That's what I was asking. Y'all do
Berlin
some street
and,
designs?
Berlin and Lafayette were
Okay,
both designed
okay.
by them.
That was my point. Y'all do some street work for the city too.
Yeah, that would be a big conversation. Whenever you want to look at a street, would be like, what is the end goal and what's the level of service? Right? Do you want it to be especially like a street like Athens, which should really be more like a channel than it is a drivable street.
Okay.
At one point, we discussed whether or not it'd be prudent to have Lochner do like a streets discussion with council about what kind of setting the expectations so that we could do street design and start designing to specific standards, both in subdivisions, but also importantly, when we go look at reconstruction projects in our old part of Castroville,
Sure.
what that needs to look like. We never ended up having that meeting, but I know we've talked about it a couple different times.
Okay.
Well, I guess I kind of recall them in the discussions, and that's what we came up with in River Bluff and Country Village. It's basically those are replacement, whereas in the old parts we're going with chip seal. So in other words, it's HMAC curbs in those two neighborhoods because that's what they were built with for the most part. Whereas in the old Castroville, we came up with this some years ago.
Yeah, we didn't
that
necessarily
we're
do
gonna
that in
chip
concert
seals.
with Lochner. The staff discussed that with council and
Yeah.
ultimately kind of went that
Yeah.
direction.
It wasn't Lochner, it's K-Freeze.
Okay, friends.
Okay. Okay. You have questions? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So looking at the bridge, because that's my district and my way home. On the other side of the bridge, are you guys going to be doing clearing of that stuff as well for redoing the bridge?
We don't currently have any of that in the scope of work.
Okay.
Think
Then,
about all the trees that are there.
yeah, that on that other side.
Nothing on the upstream side.
We did recommend the city did some improvements, like some minor improvements in it, because there was quite a bit of blockage.
Right.
A couple of years back, there was some minor
Yes.
improvements done, but we did not look at go upstream and.
Well, Michael,
Yeah,
just to
no,
go
no.
look at it, like AB and I, when we looked at it the other day, I was surprised because I'd driven it. I just, you drive by things. When Devin was still here, we went in and cleaned all that area out.
Mhm.
We cleaned it out quite a bit.
Mhm.
And I was amazed how much it's
There's
grown
so
back.
much. Yes.
And what is, I've been here less than 5 years.
Yes.
It's already grown back.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, just like when you list your pros and cons, you could say, hey, city, you need to cut this back and, maintain it cut back. That way it doesn't have stuff come down and block it and screw up what
To
we're
be
trying
clear,
to do.
we had to get Dr. Best's permission to do it when we
I was going to say,
Oh, I know.
it's not a street right away. You don't have an easement in there either. So
Right.
you'd be,
Private
So-
property.
Right.
it's all
We went-
private
we
property.
went
So you
and
got
got
to be
permission
careful
to
with
do
the
that.
city
Well,
Yeah,
working
yeah,
on
yeah.
private property.
But,
And sorry.
oh, sorry. On your list of pros and cons, will there be a statement regarding if you do not do the reinforcement of the walls going downhill, down towards the river, that the sides continue to fall into the channel, what damage it would be, and citizens losing their backyards as it falls down into the creek? Will that
There will
part
be
of
an
your pros and
acknowledgement
cons?
of that risk. I'll stop short of saying like, this is how much the bank will erode per year or
Yeah.
put a monetary
Okay.
cost of the damage.
Okay. Let's see here. And I read your notes there, Scott, regarding this project. What would be considered the immediate area? Would it be from the bridge to where the drainage that comes off of Washington be the immediate area? What would be the immediate area?
Yeah, so we're getting into stuff that we'll probably talk about at the next council meeting, but the short of it would be where the current improvements are, that's the immediate area. So if you see concrete related to the bridge, that's the immediate area. Nothing beyond that. Generally speaking.
Generally, because of the way the bridge was put in, there's some erosion
Yes.
that's occurred
Oh, I know.
right by the bridge. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the correct.
I've been down
issue.
there.
That's the immediate area. Correct.
Okay, because I was looking at the stabilization of the side walls. On that, what would be considered the
It's
immediate
going to
area?
be up to council how far you want to go down the creek. But
Okay.
right now, the bridge, the water's basically jetting.
Oh, I
into
know.
this.
I know.
So the idea is to correct that by putting in a hard wall.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just seeing what we consider the immediate area.
That's the immediate area.
How far down? Because I see that stuff falling in all the time.
Including grave mark.
Okay. That's all I have.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I guess I was going to add to the discussion
Yeah.
on the upstream side. And in the stormwater master plan, there's a section in there related to maintenance of the system. And I think any major creek, any major culverts, those kind of things need to be maintained on the regular after a big flood event, making sure, inspecting if there's any large debris, removing that. And so I think for some of the stuff that we're talking about in the upstream, I think through some regular maintenance, some of that could be accomplished.
Could we, and this might be a question for the lawyer, could we enter into like an MOU with Dr. Best to allow our people to do the maintenance as far as the cutting down the trees and everything right there at the bridge?
It's better to get an easement, wouldn't it?
There's a couple different ways to accomplish it. But the short answer is yes, we could. Whether
Okay.
we should and will is up to you all.
Right.
Sheena, the one thing, it's not the brush at the bridge is the problem.
Oh, I know.
It's every time it rains,
I know.
everything up above comes down. So
Oh, I know. One of the green
You would have
trash
to go
cans came
clean
down and I
all
had
of
to
that.
ask
Yeah.
to have it removed. Oh, I know. I'm
You're
just,
taking on quite a bit of.
I'm, all right. That's all I
One
have.
guy.
Yeah.
One guy we have.
Mike, I have a question for you at the wastewater plant, okay? What's your role in the TCQ enforcement the city currently has concerning those ponds?
We've been supporting the city with coordination with the TCQ and some correspondence. I think I started a couple years ago on some, what they call it, the SCP was one of some documentation on closing out. And I think writing letters on the agreed order and then just updating them on the process with the pond closure plan.
What's the plan?
The pond closure plan is.
And where are we at on the plan?
I don't know about the fill side. We have an approved plan. The approved plan is the city's not dumping water into the ponds. They're going to the river and they are going to be filling in the ponds over time.
Okay,
We're filling in the east pond and opening up the west pond.
okay, but has the city addressed the drainage that feeds into those ponds?
No, that's still something that has to be addressed. Once those ponds are filled, then you're gonna have to do something with the hillside that's coming to you.
Shouldn't we?
King is working on.
What, shouldn't we be doing that in conjunction with that?
Yes.
You have to take into account that the drainage is coming below it. And by the way, Phil King's taken over this for the city as your consultant, freebie.
Okay,
But
okay.
you have to take the drainage down below it. But you can't stop the water from coming in above it.
Would y'all prefer that this be done through K-Freeze or through Wagner?
I don't know how to say this except that we don't have a professional service agreement with Phil King. And I don't think as a council member, he should be on as a staff with this city.
I'm advising it to circulate, and again, as Scott says, if you guys want to give this over, but I volunteered to do it.
Sure.
And council agreed to that, and I'm not getting paid for it, and it's within my area of expertise. And to answer your question, you can't stop the water from coming down the hill. All you can do is realize you're going to accept it, and then you have to direct it down beside the road there down to where the current drainage is.
Sure.
So it's a real simple solution to that. But that's where it stands now. But you all, if you want to take that back.
No.
that's
I
fine.
just want to make sure, because I want to make sure with the attorney that, do we have to have a professional services agreement? Because we have one with everyone else that works.
I would advise you to, and to have it all laid out to where if you're gonna do it pro bono, it needs to be laid out and the council needs to take a vote on it.
Okay.
I mean, this is about protecting y'all just as much as it is about protecting the city.
I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure we do things the right way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
And all I wanted to do was what the status is on and when we're gonna start doing it. And of course, I'll ask more questions later on in the staff report at the meeting. But so the plan is so we're not putting any water in any of the ponds, either one.
I'd have to ask Daniel. I don't believe we're putting water in any of the ponds.
John?
They may be putting some water in the west pond, but I'm not 100% sure. Just to maintain some levels in the west pond. But these ponds been dried out and then refilled when some rain events. And fill is coming. Is there fill coming from development?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
some
for
fill.
lots of different places, and we've got some from Tech Stocks coming.
Are we, just a question, why are we putting water in a pond if we have a full discharge
For
permit?
irrigating the park. There are times when the pond got low enough where we couldn't irrigate soccer fields because we still don't have a long-term solution for how we're going to irrigate the park.
Are we still having a problem with that open irrigation? That's not an engineering thing.
Yeah, we made a recommendation that you replace your skid, right? So it's kind of, the city's got to think through some options.
Clear water or whatever.
That was at $150,000.
I was about that probably.
To make a clear water well okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Every solution we've looked at has been north of 150 to 250.
Yeah, the time of
to irrigate the park.
25 years ago.
Because I think we met out there early on when I was the mayor. Says, look, if the ponds are not required for the treatment, then the wastewater system doesn't have to pay for any fund for them. Have a nice day. If the park wants them for irrigation, then that's a general fund expense. Have a nice day. But that's my opinion. Why are we messing with these? But again, I just thought I'd ask you for an update on them.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, folks, here we have gone through our engineers. Our goal was to end up finishing this meeting no later than 5:30, so we'd have a little opportunity in between before the next council meeting. If y'all want to move on and talk a little quick about the interesting old school would be a capital improvement plan. I guess the turn is a capital investment plan.
Well, do we want to do that since we are?
Or do you want to talk more about the engineers?
Well, no, I'm looking at the last item, prioritizing use of the $3.5 million.
We can move to that too.
Because that way we could,
We're not making a decision. I just
Right.
wanted, okay.
because citizens are asking.
Yeah, well, let me give you my respect on my position on that. And it goes back to a conversation we just had, and it's not the engineers deal on this, it's the city's deal. We borrowed money and then we went and looked for a project for the money. We borrowed money and now we're looking for projects to use for the money.
Well, we had
And that may be the way things are in some places, but that's not the way that normally you would do it. Normally you'd have a project with an estimate, then you go out and get the money. So we kind of do things backwards here. So my comment is, and people are asking, we're paying debt service on money. What are we doing with it? And so I believe, and I would ask city council to make a commitment on how to use those funds. That's my opinion.
But we had a list.
You have a list. That's correct. You do have a list, and it's
Yeah, I think that's
labeled in there.
what you just said mischaracterizes former council and what we've all talked about is that you have this list. We need $20 million to go through the list of things that this city needs. What we need to do is whittle that list down to what we believe are the needs that we need to use just this small amount of available money for. So I don't think we're going after it backwards. And the other thing is, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, is this money in the bank or is it just sitting there and not generating any interest?
No, it's generating interest.
Yeah, so it's not
generating
a total
interest.
loss, but at the same time, I think it's very prudent that we plan moving forward very carefully so that we do get, the worst thing to do is just go pick something without very carefully knowing cost and what, it's a cost benefit ratio. So we need to understand what that true cost benefit ratio is to then very prudently spend this money, in my opinion.
And you should have all the council here too, possibly, if you could, because I know David said he had not been able to be in the
As far
discussions
as
previously.
Well, we're just talking about it.
Oh, I know, but just.
But I understand that we won't make a decision without them all. I agree with you on that. I'm just giving you my 2 cents what this is. The fact is, you pick a project, you get an engineer's estimate, then you go look for the money. You don't get the money and then look for a project to tie to the money. That's my opinion. I disagree. And that's the way I believe it should be. But if y'all, I think the city council should decide on the projects to spend that money for. But that's my opinion.
I totally agree with you. The city council should decide on those projects to spend money. And before we went out and got the bonds, we had this same discussion and city council voted, yes, we need the money.
I got it.
To go do this. So city council, and I think you objected to that at the time, but city council said, no, we do need to move forward doing this. We can't just kick the can down the road. So we have these $20 million in projects. So we can't afford that. We can only afford this now. And it was cheaper going out and getting the money in one big batch than trying to get it little by little by little.
I don't argue with that. I don't argue with that. I just argue with the fact that the project should have come first.
Well, we have.
But anyway, go ahead.
We had listed the renovation of the city hall.
Yes, ma'am.
We had taking care of PD.
We're way in the back. The last section.
The last 2 pages of the packet.
I think do I have up what you're looking at or not?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
So we had the upgrade of this building, getting a new facility for PD. We had expansion of the library. I mean, we have, and then there's drainage. So we had projects already set up. We just have to choose. And a lot of these projects, we already have the dollar signs against them. So it's just a matter of which way we want to put the money.
Well, also just for argument's sakes, that the bonds went out 7 million, 3.5, 3.4, because I think the utility system paid for the assurance, and 3.5 for the general fund. I disagree with the assessment here that those remaining funds roughly 3.9, because that 3.4 can fully be used in the utility system.
You can split it up however you like, honestly. So how
I
it's
understand.
issued and how it'll be
I understand
paid.
that.
Okay.
I'm just referencing what the intent was.
Yeah, correct.
3.5 and 3.5.
Yeah, but I want to make sure the council understands what their options are.
Sure.
You're right. The intent, you're right, Mayor. The intent was 3.5 and 3.5.
Yes, sir.
But we both know the water well project came in well under what we thought it was going to cost. So the question remains for council, and it'll be up to the council.
Sure. No, I got it.
But the money is fungible in the sense that ultimately the utility system will not pay for debt that it's not supporting.
Got it.
So if the general fund wants to use that money, it can. Or certainly the Councilman King mentioned $20 million of projects. There's probably more than 20, frankly, on the general fund side because there's streets and everything else. And on the utility side, it's $100 million. 150. I don't know. There's a lot that we could do. So you have no shortage of opportunities. And the way this was issued, and that's what I really wanted to do with the backup, is just make sure you understood legally what you could and couldn't use it for.
I understand. The only thing I wanted to add to that is the tax rate was based on 3.5.
Correct. But even there, your tax rate won't change because you have debt service funds. Remember the financial advisor said, y'all have a debt service account that has money in it. Sure. That money can be used to pay for additional debt service. So even if you use a little bit more, you'd be okay.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And on number 3, Mr. Dixon, Parks and Rec facilities that I'm reading, does that include that? Because I know we're over and we don't even have showers on the pool, new pool cabana.
Yeah, yes, it does. So it's it includes what it says there. So it's pretty generic on purpose.
Right.
Because
So
it gives
that's
you
what-
flexibility to do a wide range of parks and recreation projects. But that could be used for the community center or to expand the community center project. Yep.
Mr. Lee, you got a comment?
I could talk for an hour. Instead of repeating what we've said all along, I think it's been well justified that we know that we have enough projects, more than enough to use the 3.5 on. And having that money available looks to me like we would be even more attentive to narrowing it down to what was the most important versus just something comes up, okay, let's go get some bonds. So I agree with your thought process in general, but in this case, I think there's a list so long that we need to do that. You've heard me make my pitch before about, I don't think we ought to spend millions and millions on this building. I think we need to keep it serviceable, but we are going to need more facility and more parking than this building is going to provide 5 years down the road. And 5 years down the road, it's going to cost us probably 30 to 40% more to get a facility than it does now. And so I'm making my pitch that we need to seriously consider moving public works out to a non-aviation portion of the airport. And they could use the temporary buildings initially and put a new city hall and maybe some other functions over on that particular piece of property and make this building serviceable for the police department, community development, things like that. So it continues to be in use. Do not do anything to the upstairs whatsoever other than make it available for tourism purposes necessary. Because in this thing, there's just stuff to spend a lot of money to repave the public works yard, okay, to make that more serviceable and on and on and on. So to me, we're going to have 3 or 4 times the people in 6 or 7 years, probably, and so we need a better facility to handle city hall sorts of functions, including court and whatnot, with adequate parking, which this place does not have. And so instead of spending $1 or $2.5 million to redo this building, which will still be inadequate in my opinion, we'd be better served by putting funds toward a new facility. That's enough for now, bye on that.
And you're right, when we initially discussed this and we brought up about relocating public works and putting a new city hall facility where they are, we also talked about adding the library onto it. And that way it would be a one-stop shop for a lot of things.
And there is money to be made on selling some of these buildings if we wanted to do that. Move the police department, you could sell it. If you move the library, you could sell it. So there would be some funds coming back in. I guess the question is, anybody else on council interested in any of that? If not, we'll move on.
I'm not until we find it, because you say it's gonna cost millions and millions to renovate this building.
No.
We don't know. I totally disagree with you on that number, millions and millions. I think it would be cheaper, less expensive to renovate this building, upstairs, downstairs, and build this annex on the back than it would be to build a new building over in the public work yard. But we don't know until we get the numbers. Okay. And I also disagree with you the fact that because we're going to have 6 times the number of people, we're going to need 6 times the amount of office space. I think we've been very good. You just said that.
No, I didn't.
But okay, I apologize for misquoting you. But I think we also don't have to have everybody in one building. You do need to have key people in this building, but you can have a county move to a different building. You do a whole lot of things and get 100% use out of this building. So I think what we need to do is, before we can make any of these judgments, I think we need to wait and try to get some cost and estimates. But that's my opinion.
Okay. I agree with my pitch has been, let's discuss it. Okay. Okay, let's discuss it. And you and I sat in this very room and saw some of those initial projections of cost by the company that's now going out to do that, and some of those exceeded $2 million, went up to $2.5 million. It was like 1.2 to 2.5. I read it right in the package that's sitting in front of us. By the time you completed the inside of this building, you basically put the building on the back. It was well north of $2 million. It was one of the limits of one of the estimates. And if
That's
you
gonna
find something
depend on
coming in
your-
cheaper, it surprised me.
But it could be more than that. It really is going to depend on the scope that the council sets for this building. But I think the goal today, if I understood the mayor correctly, was what, if you were to prioritize these projects that you've identified, where do they fall out? What's the number one, number two, number three priority?
That's a good start. I think so.
I think that's good. Let's make that determination.
I don't know how, in my mind, it's cost benefit. You need to look at what these projects cost, where you get your best bang for the buck. And I don't know streets in this building and fire and the police department and putting bathrooms on they're all very good projects. But we need to know what they cost so we can, if you're going to go buy a new Ford truck, you want to know what you can afford as far as the accessories that you're going to put into it. And that's I think we need to get a better handle for what the cost of these projects are, because I don't know how you can pick them if you know the cost, unless you know the cost benefit to each one.
But you have a company now looking at the cost of it.
We are. That's
We
true.
do, exactly.
So now we move forward. Let's wait till we get that cost back.
But
Those
if
cost
you committed all
estimates.
your $3.5 million other projects, then it would be.
Then it's easy, man. We can't afford that one, and we'll make that decision then. But let's get the cost in before we just assume
That
things.
shouldn't be too far down the road, is it?
Sounds good. I don't know.
Yeah, 60 to 90 days. We do have the holidays coming up. That'll slow us down a little bit, but I think they're going to have a relatively short process. The big thing that we have to get scheduled, Mayor, is probably get them in here, FPC and Pew, to do a scoping meeting with the council, because, are we doing the annex or not doing the annex? Are we doing upstairs, not doing upstairs? Those have major cost implications, and the council needs to speak with one voice to the planners to really let us know what they want to do.
Then what I would suggest, because it's only focused on the one, I would also suggest that get the cost estimate, you or someone for the city library improvements, for the parks and rec facilities, for the water and sewer system improvements you're talking about, for the streets and drainage and sidewalk improvements, for the not just this building, for everything on the list. So then the council can make an informed decision on how they prioritize these.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Some
they
of
need
those
it-
are going to have varying scopes.
I
So
understand
on
that.
The
Was that-
library,
on the water system, wastewater systems, you could spend this multiple times over.
That's right.
On the streets and drainage, you could spend this multiple times over.
That's right.
On the library, you can get a good number. On the park, you should be able to get a good number. And then when you're looking at the water and wastewater in the streets, I would look towards John or your staff to say prioritize. If you had $3 million to do improvements, what would you prioritize? Look at your engineers, and you say that, so you can have some hard numbers, so the city council can look at everything, not just this building, and prioritize.
I
I'd like
agree.
to see a matrix, okay, of the projects, and we can rate them, but
Well, you have that in the CIP. I mean, that's kind of what the CIP
Sure.
is.
on the one page.
That's in the CIP.
But current with a cap of $3.5 million. Look at everything.
What's that? What's that?
I said, look at it all with a cap of
With a cap of 3.5. So
3.5
going back
and
to
prioritize the whole list.
trying to get those figures, I know that on the 28th, the chief has been looking at getting a needs assessment done for the police department.
Sure.
That's kind of the first step.
Okay.
For what he would do. That has a cost associated with it. If the council wants to pursue that, that could be something we put on the next agenda for you all to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneous to that, when y'all issued the FPC/Pew constructor, the reason we did that that agreement or that project we did, we
You used
included the
interest
library.
incomes.
What's that?
You used interest income.
No. That's not what I'm getting at. But we actually, the way you all approved issuing it is we issued it as two projects, as the library and the city hall.
Okay.
So if this, I'm just telling you, if this is something the city wants me to pursue to get hard numbers, I haven't done that because it usually implies a cost. And in my mind, again, I don't want to get in the realm of policymaking. I'm trying to tread carefully, and I certainly want to contradict council, but I don't believe that you need to know the cost in order to be able to know the priorities. I think the cost will help you determine what you can do at the end of the day, but what you should be able to do is tell me, we want to do streets. Streets is the number one priority. Or we want to do parks. Parks is the number one priority. If you want to do a little bit of each, and you want to say, well, we want to make this money go as far as we can, which is kind of been my approach. That's why I'm pursuing something with the county to do streets with them. That's why I'm looking at having an HA5 and doing a streets plan with our staff to see how we can maximize streets without going out and rebuilding them all. And then same time looking at, okay, can we do both the city hall project and maybe the library, or maybe a PD, or maybe something else. I think there's a way to do multiple things, at least make some progress on multiple projects at once. But ultimately that's a policy decision. And so I haven't pursued getting hard numbers up until now because, again, there's a cost implication there.
But you're going to get a hard number on this building, and then you're going to present that to council, and there's no other cost than anything else to compare.
I understand, but this project, the city hall project, this is one that's been 3 or 4 years in the making. So that's kind of almost a separate thing, right? But I'm not, Mayor, I want you to understand, I'm not saying I can't do that. I just want, if we're going to do that, there are cost implications. And I want to know from council, do you want me to pursue that? I will. I just need council to tell me, go and get hard costs for the library, for the police station, look at streets. Again, we're working on that streets plan right now for that very reason, because I do want to be able to bring you all projects and costs. And then water and sewer, we can do an exercise, but I think the understanding was that half the money would be spent on general fund and half on water.
Sure.
No. The water is pretty much spoken for with that water well project, and maybe some additional things that you and I are looking at associated with the well site.
Sure.
So then we could technically task you then for the 28th of October to bring us the cost of renovating this building?
No.
They're not going to be ready.
I'm not going to be ready by then.
All right, what about November?
No, I'm not going to talk to you about dates because I can't make those promises.
Well,
but here's what you can do on the 28th is you could approve a needs assessment for the chief.
Right.
That's going to be $25,000 to $50,000 to get a needs assessment for the police station.
Correct.
So he can bring you options there. You can approve I don't even think, I'll have to talk to FBC and Pew if they take on the library project, whether that's going to affect their proposed price, because right now their proposed price was, that you all agreed to, was $46,000, I think.
Something like that.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
It was a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. But
Yeah.
in any case, if we add that, I'll have to talk to them about their proposal and how that might change. So I'll try to bring that back in time for you to look at.
What about the showers?
And then streets we're already looking at.
For the pool.
So we have that cost. Now, Councilman King believes that he could oversee a project or do something. Y'all have already had some conversation about risk to the city and wanting to do things in a more formalized manner, which is your decision, right? But we already have a cost. That's already on the contract. I mean, really, that's the contract you have with the current builder. I believe you could add that scope without going afoul of the state acquisition law and purchasing laws, because we already know what that price was. The question is whether they would honor it. But my recollection was around $250,000, and that was really consistent with all of the bids. Like every bid that came in, the shower portion piece, partially because of the scope was pretty small.
Right.
That amount was really, I mean, it was a $10,000 swag either way, depending on who was bidding it. That's my recollection. I don't know if anybody here was part of that or knew enough about that, but that's my recollection from looking at those bids.
That's just
Is that about right?
crazy.
What's that?
It was
250 grand.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Phil King thinks we could do a lot cheaper. He's building
I know a guy.
Yeah, well, he does too. Yeah, he's building the Beery House, basically, gratis for that group, and they're doing it for $500,000. Right? And that's a project that if we were to bid it out as a city, I'm just going to tell you, if I were to build out a 2-story building like what he's building and the footprint and size, it's 10,000 square feet. How many square feet is it?
This thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's, I think it's 2,000 upstairs and then it's 4,000 total.
Yeah, so we
Upstairs,
pay,
downstairs.
yeah,
Okay.
we would pay a lot more.
All right. Well,
$500,000.
But for the city to bid it out, it'd be a lot more expensive. So you have a number there, back to you, Sheena. If you wanted to add the showers, it's 250,000.
okay.
I think you could do that under the current contract.
But I think those projects would be great.
Yeah, I think that we can, in my opinion is, and I think Houston agrees, we can use a lot. I mean, the city can just subcontract everything and build their own building. I mean, you don't need a general contractor to build a shower. Look at the stuff that Jonah did out at Lions Park with that crapped out bathroom. I mean, to manage stuff like this is nothing at all. These little buildings, this building is so small, it's not.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to get,
But you're right, as far as needing showers.
right.
Well, and you could allocating the funds and how you carry out the project are two different things, right? Y'all could decide to allocate the funds. But I hope you understand my intent was to give you all an opportunity to do more than one project so you don't feel like you're just doing the one thing. I wish I had hard numbers, Bob, and everybody else on this building. We just don't have them yet. I don't know what it'll be. And some of that's going to be determined by you all. I mean, honestly, finishes, you've built a house. You all have lived in houses. The finish of your house can cost you $10 a square foot or $150 a square foot. It really depends on your budget and what you're willing to spend.
Right.
So that's why they gave us a pretty broad figures, is they don't know what we're going to tell them. All right.
And by the way, just to remind the current council, when we had a alternate to remove the bathrooms from the project because it was way over budget.
Right.
And the idea was, well, we'll just do it next year or the year after and just throw it into the budget. So it's never the intent not to build
Right.
bathrooms. But there is different options to build bathrooms.
Right.
But we also are already not over budget, but because you approved the contract when you approved it at, and I think we're going to be good with that contract price. We're holding the builder and contractors to that cost. But the fact of the matter is that cost came in higher than our original estimate for the whole project, right? So we are, in that sense, over budget $400,000. So you already have to come up with $400,000 to finish the project or find a way to cut costs, right? And that's what we've been trying to do is find ways to save money, but we haven't been.
So that 400, does that include the 250 or not?
No, it does not.
No.
It does not.
650 over.
So we've already committed about $500,000 of the $3.5 million, haven't we, to finish the building?
Well, it depends on your it depends on your source of funding for that, Bob. Whether it's your current fund balances or future bonds, but.
Understand,
Okay.
the price per square foot is about
This
what
is
now,
a
Phil?
discussion only on
Yep.
prioritizing. This
Yep.
is not an action item. This is a
Right.
good discussion, and we're going to have more discussions too. But I think for future discussions, if we can get some estimates and some numbers, then it helps council prioritize in which direction they want to go.
It's $300 to $400 per square foot.
Yeah,
Okay. We're going to, I know we have discussion on the capital improvement plan or capital investment plan. You guys need to look at that, and we're going to hold off on that one for now, but we will have this back and we will talk about it because it's
28.
I'm going to make it. It's 5:27 PM and we're going to end this special meeting.